NATO's success is a protest vote or a real turning point. But the party has tapped into deep economic fears, immigration concerns, and distrust of the political elite. Now the ruling LDP faces some tough challenges. Should they keep their current leader or find someone more unifying, someone with more voter appeal? And can they build new coalitions, address inequality and ease immigration fears whilst solving labour shortages? How they respond could determine their own survival and the future shape of Japanese politics. This edition of The Inquiry was presented by me, William Crawley, produced by Jill Collins, the editor was Tara McDermott, and the technical producer, Craig Boardman.
That was The Inquiry from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho here on CBC Radio 1. Have a great day.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Thanks for joining us on Information Radio. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Well, if you got everything ready to go, here we are. It is Wednesday morning, September 3rd, and it's back to school in many places, including in Winnipeg's largest school division. So it's going to be lots of kiddos and older students and teachers all out and about today. We have a cloudy back-to-school start in the city of Winnipeg, a 30% chance of showers this morning, should clear this afternoon, but a high of 13. Heather was just saying our normals are around 21, so we're well below that. In Brandon, and back to school weather looks very similar, cloudy, chance of showers, high 13, actually exactly the same forecast. And then up in Thompson, similar but slightly cooler. So clearing early this morning, bit of fog up around Thompson, and your high for today is 11 degrees. The morning show's on till 8:37 a.m. Corey Funk's the director, Abby Adiyemi's our senior tech, Brad Lillies is our YouTube producer, and our VMix streamer, and so I hope you watch us there and say hello. Let's say hello to Heather Wells. So right now, it's 2 minutes to 6 as mentioned, and she's here with our headlines.
Good morning. Well, a longtime member of the Winnipeg Police Board says the service adding an external Indigenous advisor is long overdue. Damon Johnson is also president of the Aboriginal Council of Winnipeg. Johnston says Sheila North is a bridge builder, which makes her a good fit for this job. We'll hear more coming up. And more frequent larviciding could do away with the need to fog for mosquitoes in Winnipeg. That is one of the conclusions of a new report by the city's insect control branch. We'll hear about that as well coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of back to school, Corey Funk is going to be doing double duty. He'll be with us a little bit for the start of the show, and then he's heading out. And this morning, he's going to bring us some stories from Gordon Bell on their first day. They, as you may know, undertook quite a renovation, and so we're going to hear more about that and also how their increasing student enrollment is affecting things there. So we're going to hear from the principal and students. So Corey's going to be out there after 7 o'clock and on the air throughout. In the first hour of the show, we have a new event we're going to talk about that is empowering women in Winnipeg's art scene. So we're going to hear all about that from a local artist and musician. And also this morning on the show, we're going to talk about a declaration from the International Association of Genocide Scholars looking at something serious here around Gaza.
On cue. Remembering Graham Greene. You'll hear my conversation with the late Canadian acting legend. You'll hear Graham tell stories from his incredible career, including his work on Dances with Wolves, and how he learned that you have to do the work because talent can only take you so far.
If you're going to be an actor, spend at least 1 year in theater.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. This week is back to school for Canadian students and back to work for Canadian politicians. Parliament does not resume until September 15th, but there is a lot the government needs to do to prepare. So today, Prime Minister Mark Carney is holding a cabinet retreat in Toronto. Janice McGregor is back in CBC's Parliamentary Bureau for us. And Janice, the Carney government keeps saying it is moving at speed, but summer is now over and there is so much that still needs to be done. Walk us through.
Absolutely. Mark Carney punted major budget decisions to this fall, ostensibly wanting to see where the economy was headed. But now it's September. We're a few weeks out from a new fiscal framework coming due, and these decisions can't be put off any longer, amid word last week that the Canadian economy contracted last spring, and amid warnings from civil service unions that the government will not be able to scale back government the way it's promised through attrition alone. Consultations were supposed to have wrapped up last week on the government's new Build Canada Homes strategy. We will see if that agency actually manages to launch before Parliament returns in just under 2 weeks. And after months of discussion and debate, the Prime Minister has suggested the first few national infrastructure priorities are going to be announced this month. But First Nations chiefs have something to say about that. Pressure is also mounting on the government to rework C2, the Strong Borders Act, amid fears that not enough's being done to protect Canada's digital sovereignty from U.S. tech dominance. The Liberals' industrial policy generally has had a rough summer, especially in manufacturing. Yesterday, for example, came word that the Quebec government is pulling the plug on its partnership in Northvolt's much-touted but troubled electric battery plant. That's 3,000 jobs that won't materialize and several $100 million of taxpayer money lost.
And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will be back in the House now that he's been re-elected. What's on his to-do list?
It's been interesting to see the Conservative leader out talking about issues that are different than what the Liberals are focused on. Today, immigration. On the heels of last week, his focus on crime issues. He appears to be pursuing a strategy of wanting to be speaking about things that the Liberals aren't in an effort to connect with different concerns. But as he does so, he continues to face criticism that he also might be overreaching at times with numbers that might be exaggerating Canadians' fears.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. The Assembly of First Nations is also meeting this week in Winnipeg. And as Janice mentioned, one subject is expected to dominate discussions at its annual General Assembly: resource development and how it will be affected by Carney's major projects legislation known as Bill C-5. Here is National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak.
First Nations support economic growth and prosperity for all, but not at the expense of our rights.
She says leaders have differing opinions about what types of projects and partnerships should go ahead, but they all agree those projects should not be built without free, informed, and prior consent from First Nations. A federal appeals court says U.S. President Donald Trump unlawfully invoked the Aliens Enemies Act. Trump used the 1798 Act to quickly deport people he accused of being members of a Venezuelan gang. The court also barred Trump from using the law in a number of southern states. The CBC's Aaron Collins joins me now from Washington. And Aaron, what can you tell us?
Well, Marcia, this ruling is another setback for Trump's crackdown on undocumented migrants here in the U.S. So this federal appeals court ruled that this really obscure law can't be used for deporting alleged gang members. The Trump administration had argued that this Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, was essentially an invading force. So officials could target them for deportation using the Aliens Enemies Act. But this court said, nope, this wasn't an invasion, and using the act in this way, it's illegal. And it wasn't the only legal setback for Trump yesterday. A California court also ruled that it was illegal for the administration to deploy the National Guard to Los Angeles. Remember, that happened in June. That, of course, a response to protests against another action aimed at deporting undocumented migrants.
There was a U.S. military strike on a vessel in the Caribbean. What are we hearing from the White House?
Yeah, this came out pretty late last night. The White House is saying the U.S. military had attacked a speedboat in the Caribbean, killing 11 people, alleged to have been part of the same Venezuelan gang connected to that court case that we just spoke about. So the president released a video on social media allegedly showing drone footage of the attack, saying that the people killed on board were smuggling drugs. The administration calling the group terrorists, saying the gang is controlled by the Venezuelan government, an accusation that country has denied.
Thank you, Aaron.
You bet.
The CBC's Aaron Collins in Washington. In Beijing's Tiananmen Square, China's military might is on display. Thousands of people clap and stand in formation as the leaders of China, Russia, and North Korea emerge together. China is marking 80 years since Japan's surrender during the Second World War. Flanking Chinese President Xi Jinping are two of his closest allies, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. China is calling today's military parade a sign of unity, and the display caught the attention of Donald Trump, the U.S. president, taking to social media to wish President Xi and the people of China a great day of celebration. Trump followed up by giving regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, as he says they, quote, conspire against the United States of America. Canada may have lifted its retaliatory tariffs on the United States, but Ontario's premier says he will make sure companies that abandon his province still feel economic pain. Doug Ford has been voicing his frustration about Diageo, the company that makes Crown Royal. Last week it announced it was shutting down a bottling plant near Windsor and moving the operation stateside. Kathleen Sailors has more on Ford's reaction.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal.
And with that, Ontario Premier Doug Ford dumped a bottle of the Canadian whiskey onto the ground at his feet. Diageo, the spirits giant that produces the brand, announced just days ago it's closing its southwestern Ontario bottling facility. Ford lambasting the leadership, calling the company, quote, dumb as a bag of hammers. Diageo said in a statement to CBC that Crown Royal will continue to be made in Quebec and Manitoba, and the whiskey sold in Canada will be bottled here. But Ford had a warning for the company.
A message to the CEO in France: you hurt my people, I'm going to hurt you. You're going to feel the pain in February when these people don't have a paycheck. And I'm going to stand up for the people of Ontario.
The Premier's office did not clarify if he would pull Crown Royal from store shelves, as he has with American liquor in the trade war with the United States. Unifor's John Dagnolo represents the 200 Amherstburg workers who could lose their jobs in the closure. He supports a potential boycott of the liquor.
And I've told them, you need to take the alcohol off the shelves because this can happen to anybody. Enough's enough.
Dagnolo says he's not talking about severance. His first priority is keeping that plant open. Kathleen Sailors, CBC News, Windsor.
Beloved Yukon musician Hank Carr has died. Hank Carr was born in Saskatchewan but became an ambassador of Yukon's culture and music. His fans say he could sing any song, but through decades of performing, he stayed true to his country music sound. Hank Carr was 86 years old. The CBC's Tori Fitzpatrick has his story.
Where do you go after Yukon?
That's Carr's song, After Yukon, an ode to the place he called home for nearly 60 years. After moving to the territory in 1965, Carr spent much of his life singing in Yukon bars. His son, Hank Carr Jr., says the territory meant a lot to him.
I just honestly believe that he felt in his heart he always owed the Yukon for what it did for him.
Carr had many accomplishments throughout his career, including playing at Expo 67 in Montreal and winning a Heritage Award at the Western Canadian Music Awards in 2019.
When I was first told, I keep wondering why I'm receiving these awards.
Carr was humble and not one to laud his own achievements.
I will remember him as a man that does not put his trophies on the shelf. Be humble.
Carr Jr. hopes people will remember his father, not just for his music, but for how he treated others.
Love thy wife, love thy neighbor, and take care of one another. And that's how we remember the Yukon, 30, 50 years ago.
Heaven's where I'll go after Yukon.
Tori Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Whitehorse.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Eight degrees in downtown Winnipeg for the first day back at school for students across the city. Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in our CBC studios in downtown Winnipeg. Speaking of which, thanks for joining us. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. More on the first day back weather in just a moment. And we'll also tell you where we're going to be out and about for the to represent the first day back at school on the show today. First, though, we're starting with a little bit of music. We're going to hear how a new event is empowering women in Winnipeg's art scene. So a local artist is going to join us. We're going to play some of her music, and we're going to hear more about this event. To serious matters, at 10 to 7 this morning, we will talk about a declaration from the International Association of Genocide Scholars with an international law expert. He's going to explain the implications of the conclusion that genocide is happening in Gaza from that group. So stay tuned. That is coming up right before 7 o'clock right here on CBC's Information Radio. So local weather and traffic in a moment. Right now, let's go to Heather Wells, who's in our news center with our headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we are learning the details of a survey about the healthcare system in Winnipeg. CBC News obtained the results through a Freedom of Information request. 9,000 people were surveyed in the first half of 2024. In worst cases, a patient suffering from a heart attack says they were forced to find their health card. Another patient sitting for hours in a waiting room with their head bleeding. We're going to hear some reaction to that, to those results coming up. And Manitoba schools are ready to dish up breakfasts, lunches, and snacks. It is year 2 of the province's Universal Nutrition Program. The NDP government is spending $30 million a year to help make sure all students have access to healthy foods. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thanks very much, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. All ready? I've got a big list. Actually, it's 3 pages, so it's a couple of lists. But here's where students are back today. And I warned you that yesterday it was Western School Division. Today there's a big list. And there will still be some in the days and even next week. But the first day today in Beautiful Plains, Borderland, Brandon, Division Scolaire Franco-Manitobain, Flin Flon, Fort LaBosse, Frontier, Garden Valley, Kelsey, Lakeshore, Louis Riel, Park West, Portage-la Prairie, as well as Prairie Spirit, River East Transcona, St. James, Assiniboia, Seven Oaks, Southwest Horizon, Sunrise, Turtle Mountain, and also the Winnipeg School Division. So now you know why I said most of Manitoba students are back today. You're going to be wearing your new fall stuff, everybody, because we are well below normal for this time of year. Let's start in Winnipeg with a brief look at our forecast. 30% chance of showers this morning, clearing this afternoon, a high of 13. It'll be windy. Winds north 30 to 50, so gusty. In Brandon, very much similar. Mainly cloudy, 30% chance of showers. Winds, though, a little lighter, north at 20. The high in Winnipeg is 13. The high in Brandon is 13 as well. Finally, in Thompson today for your back to school, clearing this morning and a high of 11 degrees for you. So just a touch cooler than we are here in the south. Current conditions, Winnipeg is 8 degrees. Brandon is 4 degrees and Thompson is 0 right now. And that is the cold spot in the province, right on the button. The hot spot, in case you're wondering, is Gretna at 10 degrees. Gretna, you're so often hot. It is supposed to be around 21 for this time of year, Corey Funk. That's our seasonal normal.
Oh, gee, I was cold. I'm the weird combo of like I have 5 layers on top and then I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah.
And I felt it on the way in. I should have worn gloves today. That's how cold it was on the way in today.
I know. If you need some, I've got some in my car because you're going to be out and about at Gordon Bell later.
Yeah, heading to Gordon Bell right away here. I'm going to chat with its new principal. We're going to get an update on the renos and some of the other kind of interesting changes happening at Gordon Bell. Going to chat with a couple teachers and hopefully a couple students as well. So I'm going to spend the morning there. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to share with us on CBC. So I guess traffic right now is a couple reminders to be early.
Yeah, I mean, of course, school zones, 30 kilometers per hour in school zones. Just a reminder there for folks who might be going through one for the first time in a little while. Other than that, though, I haven't heard of any other major issues out there. But if you're out there, you see something going on, I'm sure traffic's going to be a bit heavier than it has been the past couple months. You can give me a call. Actually, Abby's going to be the one answering today because I'm going to be out and about, and he'll be taking over the traffic vibes.
Hi, Abby.
Hello. You can give us a call on the commuter line, 204-788-3093.
6:15 a.m. is the time right now. Well, as I alluded to at the top of the clock here, there is a new event that's going to be highlighting women in Winnipeg's arts and music scene tomorrow night. From fashion designers to singer-songwriters, it's called the Goddess Series, and it's giving women the chance to take center stage. Musician Stephanie Westall is up early with us this morning to tell us about this. She's behind the event, and we'll play a bit of her music after as well because we can't resist. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, Marcy.
So I did sort of the short strokes of why this came to be, but tell me a little bit more about the motivation for the project.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wanted to bring together feminine and feminine-aligned energy to sort of have it all under one roof in one event and celebrate and spotlight the talent and the vibe that this kind of event can give, an experience, really an experience for the performers, the artists, as well as the audience. So I really had that vision, and I'm just sort of executing on that vision.
How do you describe the vibe, as you put it?
I really wanted to create sort of a powerful, creative environment in which women and women-aligned artists can thrive and feed off of each other's energy in under one roof. In an event like this, where you really get that feminine sort of creative healing power.
I love that. That explains, well, to me, a little bit about the name, the Goddess Series.
Yeah. So to me, that was like the obvious name. I just wanted to relate this to powerful female energy across all cultures that is celebrated, and I wanted to sort of bring that to life and have all of the goddesses that will be there in the audience as well feel that power, energy, love, healing.
I mentioned that, there's from fashion designers to singer-songwriters. I mean, there's going to be all kinds of people's talents on display and being shared. What are some of the challenges facing young women in our industry right now locally?
I would say support, mentorship, trusting themselves. I actually had a very good conversation earlier this month about this exactly. And I think leadership, I think the young women today need to find somebody that they can mentor with, that they can trust, that can help them navigate their careers.
In terms of their careers, and when you're saying that, obviously you're a singer-songwriter, are you talking mostly about in the music industry to see increasing growth in that area? Or are you finding that this is something, when you talk to the participants, that is happening, mentors needed also in the fashion industry and in other aspects of the art scene as well?
Yeah, I'm sort of talking about the entire art scene. Yes, I feel like between, social media and trying to get heard and trying to be supported and finding the right paths and the right grants or, whatever is out there, it can be very overwhelming. So I think having somebody who's done it before and can help them navigate what might be in their best interest and maybe spot areas that they could really focus on that might lead them to the path they want in their career. So I do feel like mentorship is a huge, huge benefit.
So you're almost connecting women through this event in a way tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's women from all walks of life, all sorts of different things. This is the inaugural event. We will be taking this national as well, but I really wanted to start in Winnipeg, my hometown, because there's so much talent here. It's amazing. It's incredible. I'm so impressed.
Tell us a little bit more about the performances and the art. What can people expect to see and hear tomorrow?
Right. Yes. So tomorrow we have 3 performers. All of them have their own original music. One of them will be myself. We have Deidre Boris and Shay Wolf. They will be performing original music. So 3 performers. And then we have Vixen Robes, Jenna from Vixen Robes. She has made we've collaborated on an outfit for me for tomorrow night. I'm so excited to share it with everybody. And she will also be there showcasing her fashion line. And then we will have Jocelyn May Caballero of JMC Makeup Artistry, and she will be doing mini makeovers.
Oh, that's fun. fun stuff, all kinds of things going on, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
This is happening at Side Stage. It's a pretty intimate venue. Why did you choose there? Was that part of it?
Yes, it was. That's exactly it, Marcy. It was because I wanted to have a sit-down experience where instead of, fighting the sound of the bar or the restaurant or whatever you're playing in, that's a great venue too, but I wanted people just to sit down and absorb these artists and these songs that they've worked hard on, and they've got these songs on Spotify. They're really trying to work their careers. So I just kind of wanted to help us each other along with this. So I love the sit down idea. There will be standing room as well, but there will be seating so that you can really take in a concert, an experience.
Well, we're going to save some time here because we're going to play one of your tunes to support your music. And thank you thank you very much for being on CBC this morning. I'll mention again where people can see all of this tomorrow night. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Marcy. Thanks for having me.
A portion of the proceeds, by the way, for tomorrow night's event will go to the Lemon Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization that aims to empower live entertainment. That was Stephanie Westall. She's the curator and founder of the Goddess series. So tomorrow you can go. It's happening at Side Stage. Here's a bit of her music. This is Gonna Love Ya.
Drown you in silver. You're good to deliver whatever I'm after. Every night and day. Every night and day.
We're listening to Stephanie Westall. This is Gonna Love You. And if you want to check out the Goddess series happening tomorrow night at Side Stage, Corey was just checking it out. You can find some information on Instagram and their social pages for the Goddess series here in Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa at 6:24 a.m. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, September the 3rd, first day of school for many. Let's turn our attention next on the show to international matters of politics. The leaders of China, Russia, and North Korea were together today in Beijing on the dais, watching China's military might on parade. The occasion, as you might have heard on World Report, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War in Asia. But they're also meeting to strategize a new cooperation in the region. The aim is to offset the global supremacy of the United States and its Western allies. Now, to talk about all of this, Colin Robertson is here, former Canadian diplomat and fellow at the Canadian Global Affairs Institute. Good morning, Colin.
Good to be with you again, Marcy.
So, what's your take on this today? Describe a little bit about this parade. And, I talked about who was there, but, what's the meaning and what's the deeper meaning, right?
Sure. Well, a very impressive display by China of its
military prowess, hypersonic missiles, robotic tanks, drones that can operate under the sea and in the air, the 80 buglers, 1,000 member musical band and choirs with Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, wearing a Mao suit, flanked by, as you pointed out, North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, and Russian President Vladimir Putin, as well as 20-some others within the, I guess I would say, the orbit of China. African leaders, a couple from Europe, Cuba, and of course a number from Asia, including Myanmar.
You mentioned Russia's President Vladimir Putin. He says his relations with China have reached new levels. What's your sense of that and how that relationship is developing right now?
Well, it's a relationship that has been in existence between first the Soviet Union and China, going back to after the Second World War and the birth of the Chinese People's Republic. When at that point the Soviet Union was the top dog, and leaders in Beijing would go to Moscow for training, and the Chinese relied on the Russians for both economic aid and military support. But this is now entirely shifted around. China is now the top dog, and what we're seeing is the latest manifestation of a declaration of enduring friendship that was signed in February 2022 when Putin went to Beijing and met with Xi Jinping just before the Winter Olympics that were held in Beijing and just before Putin invaded Ukraine. Since then, the Chinese have provided technical support to the Russians, and they are the biggest purchaser of Russian oil and gas, and it's those funds that are fueling the military machine that Putin has put on steroids. So it's not an equal relationship. It's not like a NATO-type relationship. It's one of interests in define what they see as an order has been led by the United States, which puts emphasis on things like the rule of law, democracy, and human rights, in which China and Russia have no interest. They offer a system to those who are there, the other leaders, that is state-centered and provides security and some economic support, but there's no place for, as I say, human rights or democracy. It's very much led by the state itself.
So we're talking New World Order here? I mean, you and I
We're talking a New World Order, yes.
Yeah,
It's an alternative to the world order that the United States created with significant support from Canada. If the Americans were the architects, we were the engineers. At the end of the Second World War, we're talking the UN, the Bretton Woods Foundation.
So in our final 2 minutes here, can you outline how this could be and maybe should be worrying to Western countries, not just the U.S., but where Canada fits in too, Colin?
Sure. Well, we should be worried because there's a rising tension, and as we're seeing from the parade today, an arms race going on. We too are putting more funding into the Canadian Armed Forces and our deterrent capacity because the world is becoming a more dangerous place with all these arms. And the certainties that held in the past through U.S. leadership don't apply anymore because Donald Trump isn't interested in leading the order except in terms of trying to monetize American defense capacity and through tariffs its role as the largest market in the world. So that's of great concern to Canada. And our Prime Minister, as you know, has been making various trips to Europe in particular to try and forge relationships that will provide both continued military support but also diversify our markets. And we'll be looking to Asia as well.
Thank you for your time on this. Obviously, it's not going to be the last time we talk about it. Appreciate it.
No, this is going to go on. Thanks, Marcy.
Yeah, it's going to develop in ways we don't know. All right, that's Colin Robertson with us, fellow at the Canadian Global Affairs Institute. He's a former Canadian diplomat. He's regularly with us on our program to analyze what's happening in international developments and politics. So we reached him this morning, by the way, in Ottawa. Coming up here locally on this first day of school, Corey Funk's going to be out live at Gordon Bell High School. We're going to hear a little bit more also about some of the first day things that you might want to be thinking about, including the school food programs. Heather's got an update on that in the news coming up. And then we have business news today. And Hallie Cottenham today is going to bring us a story about how parents across Canada are shelling out more than ever to get kids ready for their return of school. And in part, you can blame U.S. tariffs for that. And we're going to hear all of that analysis coming up with Hallie in a moment. If you do want to call us with any commuter problems, just a reminder, the number is 204-788-3093. Everything looks pretty good so far, so good, so early. Just slow down in those school zones. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 6:30. It is chilly out there. It's 8 degrees right now. We're well below normal, a high of only 13. As we get into back to school, we make sure you think about some layers. Strong north wind in Winnipeg today as the sky clears out this afternoon. We are learning new details about the good, bad, and ugly at Winnipeg's healthcare facilities. The findings of a survey are being made public for the first time. CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
I'm not surprised, just because of how things are going in healthcare right now.
Darlene Jackson with the Manitoba Nurses Union is in shock some of the survey results are negative, like the patient forced to find their health card while suffering from a heart attack, or the person who sat for hours in a waiting room with their head bleeding. She says nurses are overworked and understaffed.
There is only time to do basics for your patients.
The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority has been surveying patients, but nothing's been made public until CBC News filed a Freedom of Information request for the first half of 2024. Most of the 9,000 survey responses we obtained were positive. Noah Schultz with the Manitoba Health Coalition says that's great. But
where we really can get somewhere is with that sample size of people who are really frustrated.
He says the healthcare system can only fix what it knows is broken. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba schools are ready to dish up breakfasts, lunches, and snacks. It is year 2 of the province's Universal Nutrition Program. The NDP government is spending $30 million a year to help make sure all students have access to healthy foods. Ottawa chipped in more than $17 million over 3 years. Catherine Armstrong is the Winnipeg School Division's Director of Nutrition.
Different schools have different priorities. Breakfast is really important to some schools where they really want to bring those students in. First thing, lunch can be really important, especially in high schools where they want to make sure the students stay all day. Again, we follow the lead of our administrators and of our school teams where they tell us what's important for their students in their school.
Manitoba's education minister says the program was designed that way because schools know the needs of their students. Tracy Schmidt says the province also adjusted funding over the summer where needed. A longtime advocate says the Winnipeg Police Service's new external Indigenous advisor can't just be about appearances. Sheila North was named to the role yesterday, which police say will provide insight, advice, and guidance to the service's leadership on strategic efforts involving Indigenous people. Hilda Anderson-Pierce says it's a step in the right direction, and she hopes to see results.
I'm always open to mechanisms that can create change, and improve outcomes for Indigenous populations, but I say proceed with caution, watch and see, look for results that have impact on the ground.
North says she knows a lot of work needs to be done to repair the relationship, but says policing and the role of policing is important. The Assembly of First Nations meets this week here in Winnipeg. One subject is expected to dominate discussions at the annual General Assembly: resource development and how it will be affected by Ottawa's major projects legislation known as Bill C-5. National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak.
First Nations support economic growth and prosperity for all, but not at the expense of our rights.
She says leaders have differing opinions about what types of projects and partnerships should go ahead, but they all agree those projects should not be built without free, informed, and prior consent from First Nations. Prime Minister Mark Carney meets with his cabinet today in Toronto to plan strategy for the fall session of Parliament, which will include a new budget. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. The Chinese government held a massive military parade in Beijing with 26 world leaders, including some of the biggest rivals of the West. Russian President Vladimir Putin, North Korea's Kim Jong-un, and Chinese President Xi Jinping strolled side by side down a red carpet. The image of the three leaders and display of military might is seen as a signal to the U.S. and the world of a powerful new alliance. The president of Iran was also there, and in a major speech, Xi alluded to the long-standing Chinese grievance that it's treated unfairly by the West.
History cautions us that humanity rises and falls together only when all countries and nations treat each other as equals.
In a post on his Truth Social platform, U.S. President Donald Trump accuses the Chinese leader of conspiring against the United States. Winnipeg is poised to name a basketball court after homegrown hero Chad Posthumus. City Council's East Kildonan Transcona Community Committee voted yesterday to name the new basketball courts at Gateway Rec Center the Chad Posthumus Memorial Court. Throughout a 10-year professional career, Posthumus played for the Winnipeg Sea Bears as well as other teams in Canada, Japan, and Argentina. He also played for the Canadian men's national basketball team. He died in November at the age of 33. You can find more news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I'm glad they did that. That's classy. I like that.
Yeah, it still has to go to City Council as a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very nice thing to do.
A nice gesture after a tragic end to that young, promising athlete's life, right? I shouldn't say so young. He was already established, but you know what I mean?
33 is young.
Well, it is young, yeah. All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's get into this forecast for your first day back at school. So watch for the students out there. They're going to be all out and about. And normally we're at 21 degrees or so in Winnipeg. Today we're only going to get to 13. I'm going to lump Winnipeg and Brandon together here because pretty much our forecasts are the same. So for today, Winnipeg and Brandon looking for mainly cloudy day, 30% chance of showers. Winnipeg will be windier, winds north 30 to 50. And Brandon winds around north up to 20 per hour. Our highs 13 degrees though in Winnipeg and Brandon. Tonight, both of those cities, our cities rather, have a few clouds. And then tomorrow, it's going to rain in Winnipeg and we're expecting about we're expecting about 10 millimeters. But tomorrow in Brandon, you're expecting about 5 millimeters. So a little bit less in the system, but it's going to be wet. Winnipeg currently 8 degrees at 6:37 a.m. and Brandon is clear and 4. Let's look north. It's our regional forecast here on CBC. And in Thompson today, clearing early this morning, a high of 11 degrees for you. Tonight, partly cloudy. And then tomorrow, there's no rain in your forecast. Just a cloudy day ahead for Thompson and a high of 14. You right now in Thompson are mostly cloudy, and it is 0 right in the button cold spot in the province. I will mention that we all look like we're going to warm up a little bit next week, back to those seasonal normals where we see highs early next week if this forecast holds around 23 degrees, maybe even 24 degrees in Brandon. And even up in Thompson, you're looking for a high of 20 on Monday. I know that's far ahead, but in case you're wondering if we're in it now, in that cooler weather system, it looks like we're maybe going to bounce back and forth this fall a little bit between some milder conditions still ahead. 6:37, as I mentioned, is the time. Let's get into what's happening in the traffic situation. We've kind of all switched gears here. Corey's out busy, so Abby's going to be covering traffic, and I'm obviously covering Abby's weather. So what do you know on that side of the glass, Abby?
Just waiting for the school runs to start with all the moms out there and the school buses getting on the road. So you need to look out for them. Also look out for the school bus stop sign, not just the regular stop sign. And also giving the cyclists heads up. You're also part of moving traffic. You notice the stop sign for the school bus. You need to stop at that point. We have just a heads up at eastbound Abinoji Mikina on Pemina Highway. That's the ramp. The Chancellor Drive. It's closed for street construction until tomorrow. So, because I know that's my route, both coming to work and heading home, that is going to be closed till tomorrow. So you need to look for detour signs and find your way around that. Also, still in that axis of town, the overpass construction happening there, northbound and southbound. So you need to take it easy with, everything collapsed into one side of the construction. And look out for construction workers. On the perimeter is moving smoothly for now, but look out for the trouble spot in town where we have major construction which a lot of people already know. You see anything, you let us know. 788-3093.
Important to highlight those parents out and about around the schools, right?
School runs.
Picking up, dropping, all
Picking
the
up,
school runs.
dropping. Please remember, don't hold up traffic.
Yeah, be careful.
It's enough to delay people.
It's true. It's going to be busy. Okay, let's talk about Facebook. I just want to briefly mention this before we go to our business news. I posted one of those, finish this sentence posts on my Marcy Marcusa page. So during the show, it acts as a show page. Feel free to go there, check it out, fill it in. It's back to school and I feel... here's some early responses. Back to school and Jennifer Allen feels excited and nervous. She's a teacher. Kev Roberts says excited to see the kids. It's back to school and I feel tired. Tired already. That's Tracy Lynn. And then Dietha Quina Ad Noel writing in, unprepared. And my calendar's stuck with August with a funny face here. So yeah, I think a lot of people have those blend of emotions for back to school. Abby wants to weigh in. What's up?
I'm tired.
You're echoing
tired.
that. Yeah, I know. We're supposed to feel all refreshed. That doesn't happen for a few weeks in my personal estimation here. Well, it might be back to school and you might feel broke because we're about to hear how much school supplies cost. Let's go to our business news now. Hallie Cotnam is here with our report. Good morning.
Hi, Marcy. Yeah, blame U.S. tariffs, according to the Retail Council of Canada, saying many school supplies are manufactured in Southeast Asia and China and therefore are affected by U.S. trade tariffs and uncertainty. And that's affecting the cost of school supplies worldwide for retailers who, of course, pass it on to consumers. So what is going up in price? Lots of your listeners probably have already experienced this. Pencil cases, pens, calculators, backpacks, clothing, and running shoes. The Retail Council did a study and it found that parents can expect to pay between $650 and $750 per student to suit them up. So that's back to school. Now there's the cost of going back to the office. As hybrid work arrangements dry up, in some cases people going back 4 or even 5 days a week expect to pay more for public transit or parking. And then there's work clothes, because people are going to have to buy the bottom half of their outfit now. Lunches, coffees, even the pressure.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm hoping you're wearing pants today. I certainly am. So
yes. Even the pressure to go out with colleagues for a drink after work that you didn't sort of have to worry about if you were working from home. Then, of course, childcare or even paying someone to walk the dog because you're downtown. I know some parents were able to get away with not buying after-school care because they were home to be with their kids. Financial planners have crunched the cost if you're not into brown bagging it. Say $20 a day for lunch and a couple of cups of coffee. That's $100 a week. That's $400 a month. That's $5,000 a year. One financial advisor, Marcy, is even warning of the pitfalls of being an exhausted commuter again because, you struggle home and you just don't feel like defrosting chicken or what have you. So you dial a meal and that, of course, costs big money.
Oh, man. It's expensive. And you're right to point out all those other things as well with how work is transitioning this fall for a lot of folks too. Yeah.
Can I share a story of something that happened in Ottawa just yesterday, Marcy? Okay. So there was some
Hallie's in
confusion.
Ottawa, just so people don't, in case you don't know.
Some Ottawa school kids went back to school last week, all right? So yesterday was supposed to be Pizza Tuesday at a particular school board or a particular school, except that because school has just gotten underway, Pizza Tuesday didn't work. But there was some confusion. Some parents thought that lunches were covered off and emails went out saying, no, in fact, we need you to provide a lunch for your kid. So my colleague's partner made lunches and rushed off to the school only to find the parking lot crammed with Uber Eats vehicles. People were dropping off Uber Eats to their kids for lunch.
Wow. Well, that's a sign of the times. That's a sign of an image, yeah. Let's go to another story, making business news. And it's okay to Google the answer to this next question since Google, I understand, has dodged a bullet.
Yeah, a landmark antitrust ruling yesterday that had Silicon Valley on edge. The judgment was handed down to Google for operating what had been deemed an illegal monopoly on internet searches. A worst-case scenario punishment could have forced the company to sell off its Chrome browser. Instead, the judge decided Google will have to share some search data to competitors, and it won't be allowed to sign exclusive contracts with companies like Apple that would make Google a default search provider on smartphones and web browsers. Now, the courts saw that as having an unfair advantage, one that relied on consumer habit rather than choice. So just to give you an idea, by 2020, 95% of all U.S. search queries on mobile phones were done through Google. So yesterday's remedy meant to create some space for competitors, but in his ruling, the judge said generative AI It's already changing the playing field. I mentioned lots of eyes on this decision because, as it turns out, there are other big tech companies fighting antitrust cases. So the bottom line, yesterday's judgment was considered a win for Google because it could have been worse, and its stock soared 8%.
95% of all U.S. search queries on mobile phones are done through Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we think we're not all slaves to misinformation. Right? All those interviews we do about how to determine information, how to fact check. Now we know why it's so important. It just highlights that, which...
Exactly.
Let's go back to affordability this morning, because your final story is about expats weighing in on the most affordable countries to settle in. Where are we talking about?
Right. So as the cost of living goes up, some people have found that moving overseas can stretch their savings. So for the 5th consecutive year, Vietnam is the most affordable country in the world for expats. It was ranked first out of 46 destinations, followed by Colombia in second place and Panama in third place. Now, this is according to the 2025 Expat Insider Study by Internations, which is an online community for expats. And the results are drawn from some 10,000 expats in 172 nationalities living all over the world. So they were asked whether their disposable household income was enough to lead a comfortable life in the country of residence that they've chosen. No European country made the top 10. But the survey also asked about the least affordable countries to live in for expats. Canada takes that honor.
Do
with
we
the
really?
UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the UK comes in second and Finland comes in third.
All right, Hallie. Well, thank you very much for the report. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
With our business news this morning, that is Hallie Cotnam. Time right now is 6:46 a.m. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Still ahead in this half hour of the program, we will talk about that declaration from the International Association of Genocide Scholars with an international law expert who's going to break it down for us. He's going to explain the implications of their conclusion that genocide is happening in Gaza. So that's coming up in just moments from now. But we do have time to slide in a bit of a song. And every year I play this tune. Now, why do I play this? At first I think, oh, it's kind of a cheesy little tune for back to school and it's heartfelt and it might get you weeping a little or feeling sentimental. I like to play this because for any parent, honestly, you've probably gone through this feeling if you've watched your kid walk away on that first day. It's that mix of joy and sadness as you watch your baby go to school. And so this year, I think, every year, there's a new crop of parents that are going through that, right? Have those kids taking their first steps to kindergarten. Here's ABBA and Slipping Through My Fingers.
She leaves home in the early morning, waving goodbye with an absent-minded smile. I watch her go with a search of that well-known sadness, and I have to sit down for a while. The feeling that I'm losing her forever, and without really entering her world, I'm glad whenever I can share her laughter, that funny little girl. Slipping through my fingers all the time, I try to capture every minute, not feeling it, slipping through my fingers all the time. Do I really see what's in her mind? Each time I think I'm close to knowing, she keeps on growing, slipping through my fingers all the time. Sleep in our eyes, her and me at the breakfast table, barely awake, I let precious time go by. Then when she's gone, there's that odd melancholy feeling and the sense of guilt through my fingers all the time. I try to capture every minute, the feeling in it, slipping through my fingers all the time. Do I really see what's in her mind each time I think I'm close to knowing? She keeps on growing, slipping through my fingers all the time. Sometimes I wish that I could freeze the picture and save it from the funny tricks of time.
We pulled a live version of that tune for you this morning. That's Avon, Slipping Through My Fingers. Happy first day, everyone. Oh, that line in that song where the parent has to sit down for a while after they watch their child go to school for the first time. Oh, a lot of people are going to be feeling that today, I think. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and enjoy it this morning. Take lots of pics. If you want to fill in our question on Facebook, we're asking how you're feeling this morning. Some of you are tired. Some of you are excited. We're asking to fill in the blank. So it's back to school and I feel blank. You can write to us on Facebook. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to CBC's Information Radio this morning. And thanks for being here. Not a bad day out there. Cool, though, like yesterday, 8 degrees. At least it's not pouring. We have a 30% chance of some rain this morning in Winnipeg, and it's going to be windy. Winds north 30 to 50. Well, next on the program, the world's leading genocide scholars have formally declared now that genocide is happening in Gaza. The International Association of Genocide Scholars passed a resolution saying that Israel's actions fit the legal definition set out by the United Nations. To look more closely at what they had to say, Michael Link is with us via Zoom today. He is Professor Emeritus of Law at Western University and former United Nations Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territory. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Marcy, for having me.
Thanks for being here. So we have heard, from several organizations, Human Rights Watch, as well as Amnesty International, that they've determined genocide is occurring in Gaza. What is significant about hearing it from this organization?
Well, the International Association of Genocide Scholars is the largest and leading organization on this topic in the world. It's been around for a little more than 30 years. It does make definitive or authoritative pronouncements with respect to genocides in the past, like the Armenian genocide in 1915 or the Darfur genocide in Western Sudan in 2005. So it's making comments both historically and on contemporary events. And I think because it includes virtually all of the leading genocide scholars in universities around the world, as well as legal scholars in this particular area, as well as public policy makers. When it makes a decision, it's usually considered, it's detailed, it's carefully crafted, as his resolution has. So I think, therefore, it has a fairly large impact, certainly in academia, and probably also in the halls of decision makers in foreign affairs ministries around the world.
I get asked as a journalist all the time, about the use of the word and what we weigh when we're using terms. Now, part of this will be really informative in an answer to that as well. There is a legal definition of genocide. Can you explain how it's different from, warfare or even war crimes?
Sure. A war crime would be a soldier killing a civilian or a handful of civilians during a particular conflict. Then there are crimes against humanity, which would be a much more widespread or systematic attack on civilians through the killing of them or the displacement of them or the torturing of them. And then you come to genocide, which is deemed to be the crime of crimes. And when we use the word genocide, it's not meant as an insult or a political slogan. It's a carefully considered legal term to describe an extremely unlawful method of warfare. It's sometimes called the crime of crimes, and it consists both of genocidal acts and genocidal intent. And putting those two together, you have to show that there has been acts and intent that are meant to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, religious, or racial group, such as mass killing, or causing serious bodily harm or mental harm to that group, or displacing them from the territory where they wind up living. So genocide is used as a term rarely.
If you want to move it, that's fine too. It's very.
Oh, pardon me. We're just hearing our reporter in the field, and we'll just get that sound out of our interview. Pardon me, Mr. Link. Sorry about that. Please continue.
Not a problem. So it's meant to be carefully applied only to those situations where there is both this genocidal act of destroying the means of life and genocidal intent.
Intent is a big word. I'm going to interject here and just ask a bit about that. How would they be able to determine this intent and also, genocide without access to Gaza? People might be wondering.
Sure. Well, part of intent would particularly in this case, is looking at statements that have been made by Israeli leaders where they have been dehumanizing the Palestinians in Gaza, characterizing them all, both armed groups, but also the civilian population there as well, as the enemy, alongside explicit promises to flatten Gaza or to turn it into hell. So those statements, I think, are fairly easy to wind up obtaining. And there's indeed been lists of hundreds of these types of comments. In terms of access or lack of access to Gaza, what I think Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the International Association of Genocide Scholars relies upon is the reporting coming from the United Nations. It still has a number of agencies on the ground or who are paying close attention to what's going on the ground, as well as the reports from the dwindling number of Palestinian journalists in Gaza, as well as the assessment of private humanitarian organizations such as Doctors Without Borders, and as well, of course, from the ongoing and continuous satellite surveillance of the level of destruction that's going on in Gaza.
So both of those things have to be present. What do you think the impact this could be of a recognition like this, specifically on Canada, on how we conduct ourselves on the region and how we position ourselves to respond to this?
Sure. We're a signatory to the 1948 Genocide Convention, as well as to the 1998 Rome Statute, which created the International Criminal Court. And both of those have this very detailed definition of genocide. So that means a country like Canada would have both a negative duty and a positive duty in international law. We would have a negative duty not to be complicit in aiding or assisting the military and the state that is maybe committing genocide. But we would also have a positive duty as well to rally with all other signatories to the Genocide Convention and to the Rome Statute to halt the genocide in Gaza as rapidly and as effectively as possible. And this duty occurs not only when a genocide is actually occurring, but also when it may be occurring as well. So it's not just when red lights are flashing. Countries like Canada would have an obligation to act to end the genocide, even when there are only yellow lights flashing.
Appreciate your time on this, Michael Link. Thank you very much for being with us.
Marcy, thank you for having me.
That is Michael Link, a professor emeritus at law at Western University in London, Ontario. Also, former United Nations Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territory. I should mention Israel is fighting accusations of genocide at the International Court of Justice, and I understand we are likely could take that process 2 years. There's other countries now involved, and they have until January, Israel, to submit their response. Let's get to what's happening here in Manitoba with local news headlines at 3 minutes to 6. Here again is Heather Wells.
Good morning. Manitoba schools are ready to dish up breakfasts, lunches, and snacks. It is year 2 of the province's Universal Nutrition Program. The NDP government is spending $30 million a year to help make sure all students have access to healthy foods. A longtime member of the Winnipeg Police Board says the service adding an external Indigenous advisor is long overdue. Damon Johnston has been on the board for 6 years. He's also president at the Aboriginal Council of Winnipeg. And Johnston says Sheila North is a bridge builder, which makes her a good fit for this job. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, you know whose first day it is? It is the principal of Gordon Bell's first day, and we're going to hear Corey Funk out in the field talking to the principal over there as he continues begins, I guess, and then continues through the morning bringing us stories from the first day of school. So starting with the principal, you'll hear from the students later. Corey's out and about live in Winnipeg. In addition, in the next hour of the show, new school year, new transit system to deal with. We asked university students here what their commute was like in Winnipeg. Some of their answers might surprise you, so we'll hear that in the next hour. And then building on a story that you may have heard in the news, a new survey did find Manitobans feel we are nowhere close to a universal childcare system. Where every child needs space gets one. Manitoba's Childcare Association commissioned this survey. We're going to talk to their president at 7:50. And maybe you're dealing with that this morning as you're running kids around to school and trying to get care and figuring out your new schedules. It's a cool one out there. 8 degrees in Winnipeg, the high 13. Going to be windy this afternoon, and we have a 30% chance of showers. On the commute, watch for the kiddos. Go 30K in those school zones and call if you need. 788-3093.
Trying to get in all those details, trying to really paint a picture.
The Canadian author Miriam Toews has long borrowed from her own life for her award-winning novels. Now she tells her story head-on in a highly anticipated new memoir, Miriam Toews, on family, why she writes, and whether she'll continue, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. President Xi Jinping says China is unstoppable. She kicked off a massive military parade today in Beijing. The economic powerhouse showed off its military might. China has welcomed leaders from around the world as it marks the end of the Second World War and Japan's surrender. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
Chinese President Xi Jinping inspected thousands of troops and the latest weaponry in an open-top limousine at the huge parade. Unprecedented pictures showed President Xi, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un talking comfortably as they walked down a red carpet by Tiananmen Square, along with more than 20 other world leaders. At a lunch reception attended by foreign leaders invited to the parade, President Xi had this message.
Human beings live on the same planet, and we should work together and coexist peacefully. The world should never return to the law of jungles, where small and weak countries will be bullied by major powers.
Professor Kerry Brown from King's College London says this is a moment for President Xi to demonstrate his diplomatic clout.
For Xi Jinping, it's the sort of new geopolitics, the fact that China is able to assemble its own alliances around it unashamedly, and yet also is significant for the United States because they obviously want to do a trade deal with them. So it kind of gives China a whole new dimension to the way it exercises power and influence.
Taking note of the diplomatic activity was US President Donald Trump. He's accused the trio of conspiring against the United States. Experts say this carefully choreographed event sends a clear signal to the US and the rest of the West that Russia, North Korea and China are now united. Laura Westbrook for CBC News, Hong Kong.
As Russian President Vladimir Putin attended Beijing's parade, Russia launched more overnight air attacks across Ukraine. Air raid sirens could be heard for hours in several regions. Ukraine's Air Force says it downed drones and missiles overnight in 14 locations. Officials say critical infrastructure was damaged. In the western city of Khmelnytsky, public transportation has been disrupted, and crews are battling fires in several buildings. Prime Minister Mark Carney is holding a cabinet retreat today in Toronto. It is a meeting to plot strategy, set priorities for a busy fall. Parliament resumes in a week and a half, this time with a newly elected opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, and the government has promised to deliver a federal budget this season. Tom Perry has more.
At a nondescript hotel on the northern edge of Toronto, where multi-lane thoroughfares funnel traffic onto the 401, Canada's busiest highway, Mark Carney sits down with his cabinet today to map out the road ahead.
This is a very ambitious government, and I can tell you that the Prime Minister is focused on the speed of delivery.
Families Minister Patty Hajdu expects the two-day session to focus on the government's top priorities: how to offset the impact of U.S. tariffs, how to move quickly on key infrastructure projects. Pollster David Coletto with Abacus Data says Canadians want results, especially when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations.
Well, I think the focus really is on why they were elected, and that was to deal with Donald Trump. So that remains, I think, a priority. It should be a priority for the government. But I also think they shouldn't forget about all the other domestic issues that are on people's minds, whether that be the cost of living, healthcare, even crime and immigration. These are things.
This meeting comes as the Liberal government continues work on a budget expected to include some significant belt tightening, and as Carney prepares to once again go toe-to-toe with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who lost his Ottawa area riding in the spring election, but who will return to Parliament after securing a safe Conservative seat in Alberta. Tom Perry, CBC News, Toronto.
First Nations leaders from across Canada are gathering in Winnipeg. The Assembly of First Nations annual General Assembly starts today. Top of the agenda, the economy, resource development, and how federal Bill C-5 affects it all. The CBC's Cameron McIntosh has more on what to expect.
We stand with all Canadians in condemning Trump's illegal tariffs.
National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak says First Nations share the goal of greater economic independence from the U.S., but there are fears the federal government's Bill C-5, Building Canada Act, intended to fast-track projects of national interest, will trample treaty rights and environmental protections.
First Nations support economic growth and prosperity for all, but not at the expense of our rights.
The leaders of 634 First Nations are meeting in Winnipeg. Economics and treaty rights prominent on the agenda. Many concerned about Bill C-5, which was passed without much Indigenous consultation. Alex McDougall is Grand Chief of Manitoba's 4 Island Lake First Nations.
The way I see it is C-5 is a perfect example of colonialism, capitalism, imperialism, all wrapped up into one.
Federal Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations Rebecca Alty will speak here. Woodhouse says there are differing opinions amongst leaders on what types of projects and partnerships should go ahead.
I think there's something common amongst First Nations for sure: free, prior, and informed consent.
On the agenda, resolutions to call on the government to include First Nations rights in future trade negotiations with the U.S. and Mexico, and a vote to develop a First Nations-led critical minerals strategy. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Fire officials in the Northwest Territories are warning people not to believe everything they see online. They say a lot of people have shared an image that claims to be a picture of flames closing in on the hamlet of Fort Providence. But NWT Fire says that picture is sensationalized slop generated by AI. They say the image does not reflect the conditions in Fort Providence. In fact, the winds today are expected to blow the flames away from the community. Fire officials are urging people to get their information from official sources or local media. U.S. President Donald Trump says his military carried out a major strike on a vessel in the Southern Caribbean.
We just literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. These came out of Venezuela. We took it out.
Trump says 11 people were killed during the rare U.S. military operation yesterday. The target was the Tren de Aragua gang operating out of Venezuela. Officials say the boat was headed for the United States. Trump says this should serve as a notice to anyone thinking about bringing drugs into the U.S. Some fear this will lead to a military clash between U.S. and Venezuelan troops. Trump has been building the U.S.'s naval presence in the Caribbean. He says it is to combat drug trafficking, but some speculate that it's an attempt to force Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro from power. Officials in Conception Bay South say the critical leak depleting its water supply has now been repaired, and water reserves are now being replenished. The Newfoundland town is still urging residents to conserve water and stay home. CBS is still under a state of emergency. Only pharmacies and gas stations are open. Your morning coffee could soon come with an extra kick. Starbucks will start offering added protein to its beverages, and Tim Hortons is already selling protein lattes. But as Anise Haydari tells us, it is a health trend some experts say is really about money.
If I'm getting a coffee anyways, I would always go for the protein choice, always.
In Toronto, Dean McGregor says he's interested in what Starbucks is brewing at the end of the month.
Well, I go to the gym a lot, so yeah, I need to eat a lot of protein.
Starbucks won't say what their protein coffees will cost, but Tim Hortons is already charging extra for protein lattes. Retail analyst Bruce Winder says the companies could be brewing profit.
They've realized there's a big market there. Supposedly the market's about a $2 billion market, and it's growing about 7% a year. There is a big demand for it.
There is a really big gap between
what people actually need and what people think they need.
But a protein latte may not make nutritional sense, says Melissa Fernandez. The dietitian and associate professor at the University of Ottawa researches how the internet influences what people eat.
We see the food companies creating products and responding to consumer demand for protein. But at the source of the consumer demand is often a lot of misinformation.
She says social media means people's math on protein is way off, including the popular assumption that you should be eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But does this trend pose a risk?
Whether you're going to drink a latte that has 28 grams of protein or you're going to drink a latte that has 8 grams of protein, that's not going to have a huge overall impact on your health.
So more protein in your coffee could just mean less money in your wallet. Anis Hidari, CBC News, Calgary.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. And if you like the World Report podcast, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps spread the word. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Everybody ready? Get those lunches packed, and hopefully your timing isn't off, because today for most students is the first day back. Certainly in Winnipeg's largest school division, students head back today. We are on Information Radio, or you are, and we are. You're with CBC this morning, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Partly cloudy, 7 degrees, chilly for the students this morning, and we're only going to get right around to 13 degrees. So we'll talk more about the forecast in a moment. We're going to take you to school live this half hour on the show. As students are heading back for their first day, remember, there's also educators going back for their first day and a new principal over at Gordon Bell. So Corey Funk is there live. He is going to have an interview with the new principal. They're going to talk about how they're seeing a big jump in enrollment, and it's not just because of their new fancy renovation over at Gordon Bell. Also, one of the things you might be doing today, as I mentioned, is juggling your schedules. We're going to hear about how hard childcare is still to find. That's coming up at 10 to 8. There's new data that shows that wait times for childcare spaces average 17 months in Manitoba. So we're going to dig into the data about what has changed and what has not. Right now, let's go to Heather Welso for a couple of updates on other stories locally. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we are learning the details of a survey about the healthcare system in Winnipeg. CBC News obtained the results through a Freedom of Information request. 9,000 people were surveyed in the first half of 2024. In worst cases, a patient suffering a heart attack says they were forced to search for their health card. Another patient sitting for hours in a waiting room with their head bleeding. Now, those are the worst cases. There was positive feedback as well, so we'll hear more about that. And more frequent larviciding could do away with the need to fog for mosquitoes in Winnipeg. That is one of the conclusions of a new report by the city's insect control branch. We'll hear about that as well coming up in our next news at 7:30.
I don't know about you, Heather. A lot of people in my sort of world were saying that it's been a while since we had a really mosquito-y year.
Yeah, it has been. It's really pleasant. And when you leave Winnipeg and go, say, to a rural area, there are mosquitoes and you forget. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you were new and you moved here, you'd be like, why do people talk about mosquitoes all the time here? But believe us, it's an issue.
It is. And the larviciding has been really effective.
Interesting to hear the data on it. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's get into the data and the numbers in the forecast here. So in the city of Winnipeg today, 7 degrees is our current condition. And we're partly cloudy in the city of Winnipeg, as I mentioned off the top of the hour here. There's a 30% chance we'll see some showers this morning. So, in our world, that's unlikely once it's 30%. But could happen. Clearing this afternoon, though, in a high of 13. Wind will be the story. Winds are north 30, gusting to 50. So if you're biking, you're going to be working up those legs today. Tonight, a few clouds, a low down to 5. Tomorrow, cloudy and rainy. We're expecting 10 millimeters of rain in Winnipeg. By the way, Brandon, almost a carbon copy of Winnipeg's forecast here, except tomorrow you're expecting a little less rain, but high of 13 today. And if you're back to school in Thompson, a high of 11 degrees today, and it should also be clearing for you. Right now, Brandon is 3 and Thompson is 0. Again, Winnipeg, 7 degrees. Abby is in with a look at what's happening on our morning commute. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Marcy. School zones are still a thing. It's the first day back in class today, so you'll definitely see a lot of school buses rolling by. You'll see traffic situation wherever we have those schools in your neighborhood, so you need to take it easy and be patient, okay? You are once a student at some point. Remember the rules as it applies to bus drivers. If you see the stop sign on the school bus, please remember to stop. This applies to cyclists and also e-bike riders also. Don't think you're on two wheels. You can just zoom past. Once that is up and the hands are down, you need to stop and let the student do their thing. Outside of that, major construction still in the Pemna axis. We're talking about eastbound Avenue Jamaica, Pemna Highway, Ramp Chancellor. That's still going to be closed till tomorrow, October 4th. So you should expect delays in that part of the city. Just follow the detour sign. You're going to see it's really stated. Also, the overpass, northbound, southbound, heading towards the south end of the city and coming to the north end of the city. You'd notice construction on the bridge there. Rehabilitation happening. That's the overpass at Avenue Jamaica at Pemna Highway. You'll notice construction going on there, so you need to take it easy. Elsewhere, we have curb lane work happening at southbound Archibald. We'll be seeing construction there. The perimeter is kind of moving smoothly for now. Downtown traffic at Portage, just the regular, it's moderate, and then Provincia is building up, so you need to exercise patience where you see the lights. For real-time updates, you can just check 511, and if you see anything on the street, you can give us a call at 788-3093.
That is Abby Adiyemi filling us in on that morning commute. Well, the first day of school always comes with some jitters, we know, and that's not just for students, as I alluded to as well. Corey Funk is over at Gordon Bell High School, which of course is just, off of Portage Avenue, right here in the downtown area, just west of CBC. So it's right off Portage. It's in the West Broadway neighborhood, the school. Now, he's going to be there actually all morning chatting with folks. And who are you with now, Corey?
So I am here with its brand new principal, Tanis Westall. Hello.
Hello.
So you must be feeling some jitters as well yourself.
A few jitters, but more excitement than anything else about this morning for sure.
Good. And I know, so just to set the scene here for folks who might not be watching on YouTube, we're by this beautiful mural here right now, but we're also in a bit of a construction zone. There's still flooring that needs to go in. If you look outside, I'm sure anyone who's driven down Portage is wondering, okay, what's going on at Gordon Bell? What's the most recent update on what's kind of going on with the construction?
So we're well underway. We are almost there. When you drive by every day, you're going to see a new section of the building that's been completed. We have a few finishing touches, like you just said. The hallway on the second floor needs to be done, the flooring. We're going to get our beautiful curtain windows in, and then we're pretty much good to go. I think the classrooms are up and ready to go.
And what do you hope this reno means for teachers and students when it's all done?
It's going to have a huge impact. Like, this reno has been 3 years in the making. It's the result of an energy audit. And it is going to be a beautiful beacon, actually, in the heart of Winnipeg. So you're going to have that natural light flowing in. That's going to impact student learning. We're going to be able to audit our sustainability. There's going to be so many uses for this building when it's done. So it's actually going to have a big impact, not only for our school, but the division as a whole.
And, that's not the only change. Lots of things changing here. The student body's growing actually here. So it's about 750 students. From grades 7 to 12. Just tell us a little bit about, what makes Gordon Bell, so unique as a school.
Absolutely. So any high school in Winnipeg School Division, they have the same goal. Every kid graduates from high school with the skills necessary to be successful to do anything they want post-secondary. But I asked this of the staff yesterday during our first meeting. What is it about Gordon Bell that makes this school so special? And I think it speaks to the fact that Gordon Bell sits at the heart on a map of Winnipeg School Division and the city itself. And if you were a parent sitting in that room yesterday, you would have been thrilled to hear what they said and to feel the energy. And that is the love for the students, the care for each other, the dedication to ensure that we are practicing best practice for inclusion. We're celebrating that diversity. And it's palpable in a building like Gordon Bell.
And I think now that this is kind of a new era for Gordon Bell in a lot of ways, in the sense that, there's this reno, things like that. And maybe as the new principal, maybe have you ever had to navigate any sort of maybe stigmas or misconceptions about the school, about Gordon Bell? And what do you want people to know about Gordon Bell versus maybe what people might think about it?
It goes down to that saying, you don't know what you don't know. And Gordon Bell is a school that truly meets the needs of every single student that enters the building. If you're heading to post-secondary, we have university level calculus. If you're into technology, we have our new drone program. We're ever developing our program to meet the needs of all the students. And you wouldn't know that if you weren't here at the school. If you weren't in the school, you wouldn't see how the building is going to come to life in about an hour with 750 students, and the diversity and the energy that that's going to bring the building. You wouldn't know. And you wouldn't know the dedication of staff that have been here for over 20 years. And their goal is to ensure that every kid has the same opportunity as any other kid in the city to do whatever they want with their life.
And I understand, so the student population here is growing. I think it used to be 100 kids less or so even just a year ago. Why is it going up? Like, what's making more students come here? What's changed?
So there's a few things that have changed. We have our catchment areas. So there's a school will have a catchment area of addresses that feed into a school. So that hasn't changed, but we're holding a little more steadfast to that. And so we're seeing students come to Gordon Bell. But I have to say, in my short time being here, the number of kids from across the division that want to come to Gordon Bell, that are excited to come to Gordon Bell, where there's, asks of families to come to Gordon Bell, you can see that I think people can tell that good things are happening at the school and they want to be there for it.
And what are something kind of uniquely, you mentioned the drone program, things like that, but they also have something called, I think, Leaving to Learn. What's that?
So Leaving to Learn is a new initiative that we're doing with our grade 7-8 students this year. And that is once a cycle. So every day 5 in the afternoon, students are going to have the opportunity to leave Gordon Bell to learn. So you get to be in your community. You get to learn from experts. You get to experience areas of expertise, things that kids are really into. And we're really excited about this. This is based off of the work of Elliot Washer. You might have heard of the book Leaving to Learn. And so we're really excited to be doing that at the grade 7-8 level, and then to see how that might organically grow over the years into high school.
And, this program is one of the other many things going on here. In terms of how you see the student body growing, what do you think is like the max capacity here that Gordon Bell could have in the future?
That's a really good question. I'm excited to see this building full. So we are growing. We opened 2 new classrooms this year already. But I would say we have room for up to 1,000 would be my guess. And I would love to see it at capacity for sure.
Exciting. And just tell me, what else about Gordon Bell are you looking forward to, particularly, this school year?
I'm looking so forward to, I know it's the first day of school, so that's what comes to mind. So I can't wait to see those grade 12s on their first day of school as they come in. I can't wait to see some of the programs, even the after school programs like our Peaceful Village program, some of our, kind of unique programs like our bike repair with kids out in the community. I just can't wait to see the building come to life. There's too many to mention, but there's so many good things that are going to be happening here at the building.
Any challenges you anticipate? With technology, I imagine that's one thing that must be on your mind all the time. Cell phones, AI. How do you plan to navigate that this school year?
That's a great question. So we have plans in place, solid plans in place. It's come down from the province that there are no cell phones in school. At the last school that I was at, we were able to navigate that actually pretty easily. Parents understand. They understand the impact of cell phones on kids' learning. And so I think we're going to have full support from the community, and we're going to be able to do this with greater ease than we might anticipate.
Did the kids get it for the most part too, you find?
Absolutely. So my experience when I was working with 7-8 students in another school, they got it. They had, at first hesitation, but by mid-year, they were so thankful that they didn't have cell phones. It really allowed them to become part of a community and connect person to person as opposed to screen to screen.
One final thing here, before we get to go, any shout out? What's your final message to students, teachers, right across the division or right across the province today, who might be listening, and what's your message for them?
Yeah, I just wish every single student heading back to school and to the parents who are entrusting us in their children for the school year. I just wish you all a great start to school. I hope you have that excitement for learning, and I hope it's sustained, throughout the entire school year.
Well, thank you, Tanis.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
So that is Tanis Westall. She is the brand new principal here at Gordon Bell. I'm going to be chatting with a few teachers coming up after 7:30, as well as a few students as well after 8 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. We're going to see how they're feeling about the upcoming school year there, Mars.
All right. Thank you, too. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is Corey Funk with the principal at Gordon Bell. He's on the second floor there. Hallways are quiet now, but they'll be busy later. In case you're watching on YouTube, that beautiful mural behind them with vibrant colors of a sunrise and an Indigenous woman with her long flowing hair. Gorgeous new spaces for the students. Now, in case you're wondering, there's 38 school divisions in Manitoba. Yesterday, Western School Division, as students returned. This morning, today, across the province, 22 school divisions are back, students returning. That, if you're doing the math, which I did, there's 15 left, so they will go in the days ahead. And as Corey mentioned, we are going to hear more from him and students coming up still ahead on Information Radio.
You can sleep like a spy in a Paris auberge, room number 007. Indulge your inner caveman in a Catskills motel. Or enjoy a peaceful bed-in at a Regal Montreal hotel. You can check in, but you can never check out. Branded hotel rooms on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on the CBC Listen app.
One more thing before we turn to morning sports here on the program, which is coming up momentarily. We do have the education minister who's going to be speaking with me today, and then we'll roll out that interview this week, tomorrow. And if it's long, we're going to split it in two and roll out more because you've been sending us questions. The cell phone ban that was mentioned still in Manitoba is for students engaged in grades K to 8. And then there's different rules for students above those grade levels. So one of the things we're going to talk to with the education minister, Tracy Schmidt, is about what that might look like moving forward and whether they're considering a more encompassing ban. But that's just one of the topics. You wrote into us about many, so we'll get through as many of your questions as we can with the education minister, and you'll hear part of what she has to say tomorrow on the show. Right now, it is time for morning sports. Scott Reguer joins us live via Zoom. Hello, Scott.
Hey there. A question for you. Just listening to the branded hotel rooms promo we heard there.
Oh yeah,
have you
the show
stayed in
coming
a
up.
sort of a Have you stayed in a hotel room that was particularly memorable, like an ice hotel or something of that ilk?
Not really. You?
No, but we came dangerously close to spending March break in Boise, Idaho, at my son Nate's behest because he learned there was a potato hotel there, like an world's biggest potato.
What?
Carve a room in it.
What
Sell
are
it
you
for the
even
night.
talking about?
Well, that's what I thought when he raised the issue with me.
I'm
but
Googling this while you're talking.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah.
see this big potato hotel.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still there. I mean, I believe there's a shelf life for things like that. But, if it's not listed right now, it's because it's rotten and probably in the ground by now. But I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. All right. Sports?
I would love the ice hotel, by the way. Okay, yeah, let's do sports. Rare opportunity here for a Canadian tennis player this morning.
Yeah, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Marcy, can make it through to the semifinals of the U.S. Open. Canada has not had a singles player make it that far to Grand Slam since, Felix himself at this same tournament back in 2021. Now, much has changed for the Montrealer since then, including his engagement to his longtime girlfriend, Nina Gaiby. They're set to tie the knot shortly after this U.S. Open, and CBC asked Felix whether that's been a distraction at all.
Honestly, she's been doing everything. I'm not going to lie here on camera and say that I've been doing much. I have my suit ready almost, but hopefully all goes well. I'm ready for the wedding. But yeah, she's been amazing with her family. I got to give them credit. Doing all the tennis and traveling and everything else, I don't know where I would have really found the time to go, let's say, and visit the location and choose all the different details. I'm glad we don't do this many times in our life. Well, hopefully only once, please.
Yeah, just once, please. A refrain Auger-Aliassime might apply to his tennis career as well, Marcy, as he tries to become the first Canadian man to win a Grand Slam singles title. And to that end, he'll face Australia's Alex de Minaur at around 10:30 Central Time this morning. Meantime, there were mixed fortunes for Canada in doubles yesterday. Ottawa's Gabriela Dabrowski made it through to the semis with her partner, while Laval's Leila Fernandez came up short. Still, Fernandez says there have been some important takeaways playing alongside the living legend, Venus Williams.
Today didn't go our way, but there's definitely a lot of positives for myself going forward. And seeing Venus playing on court for Joy just kind of brought me back as to why I started playing tennis. And it's probably the most important thing is that I started playing tennis for the love of the game and for bringing joy on court, not only for myself, but also for the fans.
Certainly been fun watching Layla and Venus play together all week in New York.
Let's go to baseball. The Jays benefited from a veteran presence.
35-year-old George Springer, Marcy, with 2 more home runs. What a season he's had. And he helped Toronto win a slugfest in Cincinnati over the Reds. The pitching's an issue, though. Let's be clear. Jose Barrios made it just 2 innings. In came middle reliever Eric Lauer. He wasn't much better. And then it was a bit of a hold-on-to-your-hat situation as Louis Varland, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and Jeff Hoffman kind of closed things out. Bottom line, Jays still have a 2.5 lead atop their division.
All right, let's finish with footy and the end of an era for Canadian soccer.
That would be the Aaron McLeod era, the longtime keeper for Canada's national side. A season-ending foot injury is the culprit. McLeod retiring at age 42, the oldest player in the Northern Super League. That's hard to get your head around when you think of Aaron as a teenage goalie with that red and white mohawk haircut leading Canada to a Youth World Cup final back in 2002. But Aaron McLeod retiring, and she's done more work probably away from the pitch than on it, and she's won a gold and bronze medal at the Olympics. She's advocated for LGBTQ plus rights for years now, and we wish her well in her next endeavors.
Okay, super quick because we got to get to the news, but that potato hotel, I had to Google it. It is actually a potato. It's a 6-ton potato. It travels on a semi. It's been to 48 states in 7 years, and now it sits there, and it's a potato.
Traveling to a state near you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you.
Bizarre
Information.
Go there, stay there, tell us. We'll take you, thanks Scott. Scott Rick here with sports. We'll take you back out to Gordon Bell High School after your news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 7:30. You'll want to make sure you put on some layers as you head out the door to school or work today. It's going to be clearing through the day, but that wind, north 30, gusting to 50, and a high of just 13 degrees, well below seasonal this time of year. We are learning new details about the good, the bad, and the ugly at Winnipeg's healthcare facilities. The findings of a survey are being made public for the first time. CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
I'm not surprised, just because of how things are going in healthcare right now.
Darlene Jackson with the Manitoba Nurses Union is in shock some of the survey results are negative, like the patient forced to find their health card while suffering from a heart attack, or the person who sat for hours in a waiting room with their head bleeding. She says nurses are overworked and understaffed.
There is only time to do basics for your patients.
The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority has been surveying patients, but nothing's been made public until CBC News filed a Freedom of Information request for the first half of 2024. Most of the 9,000 survey responses we obtained were positive. Noah Schultz with the Manitoba Health Coalition says that's great. But
where we really can get somewhere is with that sample size of people who are really frustrated.
He says the healthcare system can only fix what it knows is broken. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Back to school in Manitoba marks back to the province's universal school nutrition program. As CBC's Josh Crabb tells us, schools are adapting to the needs of students.
As you can see, we're bringing in a lot of food because we have a lot of students.
Boxes of fresh food arrive at Elmwood High School. Food coordinator Robert Zana uses it to prepare hundreds of meals each day.
This year we're focusing on fresh meals twice a day, breakfast and lunch.
Manitoba's NDP government earmarked $30 million annually to expand meal and snack programs. The federal government chipped in more than $17 million over 3 years. Progressive Conservative education critic Wayne Owasco questions if all students are getting the same access to food and is concerned the money is stretched too thin.
School divisions have to then hire staff, have to have prep for the food.
Education Minister Tracy Schmidt says funding is given to school divisions based on size and socioeconomic need.
We designed it so that the program would address the need where the need is the greatest.
The minister says the province worked over the summer to adjust funding where needed. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A longtime member of the Winnipeg Police Board says the service adding an external Indigenous advisor is long overdue. Damon Johnston has been on the board for 6 years. He's also president of the Aboriginal Council of Winnipeg. Johnston says Sheila North is a bridge builder, which makes her a good fit for this job.
I think she's very capable. She's got a good way of approaching these kinds of issues. She's got a huge network. She can draw from people not just in Winnipeg, but internationally too, for advice and guidance, you know what I mean? Because none of us, me or anybody else, has all the answers for anything.
Johnston hopes Indigenous people will give the initiative a chance, but knows it will take time. The Assembly of First Nations is meeting this week in Winnipeg. One subject expected to dominate discussions at the annual General Assembly: resource development and how it will be affected by Ottawa's major projects legislation known as Bill C-5. National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak.
First Nations support economic growth and prosperity for all, but not at the expense of our rights.
She says leaders have differing opinions about what types of projects and partnerships should go ahead, but they all agree those projects should not be built without free, informed, and prior consent from First Nations. Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un were among guests of honor at a military parade today in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. And with the leaders of more than 25 countries in attendance, Chinese President Xi Jinping delivered an address appearing to be directed at the West.
Comrades and friends, the Chinese nation is the great nation that is never intimidated by any bullies and always values independence and forges ahead.
U.S. President Donald Trump has posted a response accusing Xi, Russia, and North Korea of conspiring against the United States. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. More frequent larviciding could do away with the need to fog for mosquitoes in Winnipeg. That is one of the conclusions of a new report by the city's insect control branch. In 2 or 3 years, the city expects to run out of the last pesticide approved for use as a fogging agent. The Insect Control Branch says it could control mosquitoes without fogging by larviciding once a week instead of once every 10 days. The change would cost the city less than $1 million a year. It would also require a new helicopter base for the Insect Control Branch. You can find more news updated throughout the day. cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Well, we asked you on Facebook, it's back to school and you feel. We're getting words like relieved, not ready, unprepared, happy to be retired, also tired, and of course lots of excited and nervous coming in as responses. Well, you might also feel a little cool. Let's get into your regional forecast here. It's 7 degrees in Winnipeg, mostly cloudy. We won't see seasonal normals around 21 until Sunday into Monday. So today we're only going to get to 13 degrees. There's a 30% chance of showers in Winnipeg. It'll be windy, winds north 30 to 50. Tonight, cloudy, rain beginning though overnight early in the morning, and 10 millimeters of rain expected for Winnipeg tomorrow, and then a high of just 11 degrees tomorrow. In Brandon, mostly cloudy, 4 degrees. Northwest at 11 is the wind condition for you, and mainly cloudy for you, very similar to Winnipeg. Chance of showers, 30%, high 13. A little less windy for you, though, winds north at 20. Tonight, few clouds in Brandon, beginning in the morning with rain again, and you're expecting about 5 millimeters of showers in Brandon tomorrow. Also, very windy tomorrow afternoon in Brandon. Winds tomorrow afternoon gusting up to 70, and your high 14 tomorrow. Again, you're not going to get to those normals around 20 until Sunday, Monday, if that holds. And then in Thompson, finally, you're looking at -1 right now. You have dipped below the 0 mark. -1, winds are northwest at 4. Today, you're going to clear. You're going to have a high of 11 in Thompson, partly cloudy tonight, low 3. And then tomorrow, cloudy. There is no rain in your forecast in Thompson. Becoming a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow afternoon, high 14. And by Sunday, you'll be around 17 degrees. You could also see around 20 on Monday. So we're just cooler than usual. That's where we're at in our province right now. Let's go to what's happening on your morning commute, which is, of course, going to be a busier morning than we've seen in quite some time. And with this return to school, Abby Adiyemi's in with details.
Good morning, Marcia. I was going to say no delays, but then Sean called and said long delays at Logan and Disraeli all the way down to Princess. He can't tell what's happening there, but if he gets more information, he will be letting us know. So if you're approaching the Logan at the Disraeli access all the way to Princess, you need to take it easy out out there. And if you see anything, you want to give us more update, feel free, let us know. With the school year still now really in effect, drivers, you need to be reminded, I just want to say it one more time, reduce your speed limits. The school zones will be like really in strict, and it's strictly enforced. That's what I want to say. So watch your speed, obey the signs, follow the school bus rules, and it applies to even the two-wheelers, the bicycles and the motorcycles. Please remember that's going to be from 7 a.m. all the way to 5:30 in the evening. Construction still at the major axis in town, but the major one this morning is watch out for students on the street. They will be crossing using the sidewalks also and the crosswalks. If you see anything, let us know. 788-3093.
All right, thanks, Abby. Good reminders.
Thank you.
Well, let's take you back to Gordon Bell High School, which is in the West Broadway neighborhood, right off of Portage Avenue here, just west of CBC. 750 students are going back to school there. Within the next hour, they're going to fill the halls. Gordon Bell is from grades 7 to 12. In the last half hour, we heard from the brand new principal there. They've undergone some renovations. And speaking of which, Corey Funk has now moved to one of those renovated classrooms, and he's with a couple of teachers. Who are you with, Corey?
Yes, right now. So we're in the classroom of Aisha Maksoud, who's an EAL teacher here. She's been teaching here for about 3 years. I'm also here with Shane Barchuk, who's been teaching here for 17 years. He teaches English and social studies. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning. So I want to start with you, Aisha. How do you feel about, you've been here for 3 years now. How do you feel on the first day of school? What's it like for you?
It's exciting. It's nice that the kids are coming back today, refreshed after summer, ready for another full year of learning and growth.
Do you get nervous at all?
More excitement, like a nervous excitement in a good way. Yeah.
After 17 years for you, Shane, how do you feel on the first day?
Always the same. It's always excitement and anticipation in a positive way. I'm looking forward to the successes and challenges of working with these students.
So now this year there's a few more windows you can see behind us here. It's a little bit brighter. What kind of difference do you think this kind of newly renovated classroom will like? What's the changes for you, Aisha?
I feel like it's bright, it's light, it's a great learning space. And that really does affect the learning. The room that they're in, it can create more positive energy when we have this beautiful window, this beautiful view. It feels better. It feels great.
And for you, Shane, you've been here for 17 years. I know the building obviously has changed a bunch just in the past couple of years, but how has Gordon Bell changed since you started to now?
Well, I guess the biggest thing I notice is that I'm starting to not understand the slang as much as I used to. It changes so quickly these days. But it's remained the same. We've always had different groups of students from different neighborhoods around the area, different strengths and different needs, coming from different parts of the world. So that in itself hasn't changed much. And they've always been, willing to come in every day and work their hardest to grow in whatever way they need to grow academically, personally. So that part hasn't changed as much.
So you should, before obviously coming here, you worked at a few other places. What do you think makes Gordon Bell unique as a school?
So I actually worked with a lot of adults in the past. So coming to work with a young group of kids, one thing that surprises me is how mature and responsible they are. We have some of the nicest kids in the city, my personal opinion. They're so helpful. If you're lost somewhere, you're a new person in our building, they'll be like, I'll take you there. Let me show you. They're just the sweetest, nicest, most mature, responsible kids that I've worked with before.
And what about you, Shane? What do you think makes Gordon Bell unique? You've been here, I guess this has been your school for a long time, but what have you noticed?
I agree, number one, with the kindness factor of some of these kids. Most of these kids, if not all of them in their own way, they show others kindness and gratitude. That includes their peers and staff that are working with them. So that, that's just another rewarding part about my job. I think it's one of the best professions in the world. I think what makes us unique is we have some trophies downstairs that are provincial, city, and divisional soccer champs. So one of the things I have to, give a shout out to is our soccer teams that do exceptionally well every year.
What's your team name called? The Cougars?
Panthers.
Yeah. Okay, go Panthers.
We also have a thriving fine arts department in terms of dance and theater and choir and vocal jazz and band, and of course our academics.
Yeah. Maybe people, they drive by, they see the renos, things like that, but maybe people don't necessarily always know a lot about Gordon Bell if they don't live in the area or have kids who go here. What do you want people to know about the school?
I think we're pretty comprehensive. Like Shane was saying, we're not just academics. We have so many opportunities for students who attend here. We're offering drones and some really cool tech stuff. So it's very innovative, even though it looks like it will look like a new building soon, but there's so much happening here and there's so much opportunity for students to really get a holistic kind of learning.
What were you saying?
Yeah, I'm going to tack onto that and say that we're continuing to build partnerships with community members to get students to take part in action learning. One of those initiatives is our Gordon Bell, our Global Issues program at Gordon Bell this year. So Global Issues, we're opening it up. It's one of the grade 12 social studies courses. We're going to be opening it up so that every student has a chance to take a Global Issues course before they graduate, which will connect to Manitoba Education's framework for learning in terms of their global capacity global competency. So building citizenship and critical thinking and community and collaboration and connection to self. Those are all things that I believe this Global Issues course is going to help build and grow our students.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much, you guys, for both of you for joining us here. So this is Aisha Maqsood and Shane Barchuk, both teachers here at Gordon Bell, and I'll be back after 8 chatting with an unknown number of students. Could be 3, could be 10. We'll find out, Mars.
Oh, those sleepy high schoolers.
I will say I've seen a few keeners already in here before.
Nice.
Who walked in almost right around 7 o'clock, before 7 even.
Nice. All right. Thank you all. Have a great first day to the teachers. We'll talk to you soon, Corey.
Thank you, Mars.
Okay, so that's Corey Funk. He's out at Gordon Bell with some of the educators there. He'll be back with more students, or with students, I should say. We already heard from the principal there. Lots going on. It is first day of school for most students in Manitoba, 7:45. There's still, of course, 15 divisions left, so maybe I shouldn't, the majority, but there's still quite a few students that are going to go back throughout the rest of the week here. It is in Winnipeg, 7 degrees, 7:45 a.m. is the time. Now, not all students are going to be walking to school. Many of them are going to be taking the bus, and many of them are going to be taking the transit bus. And that means a big test, because at the end of June, Winnipeg Transit overhauled its system in Winnipeg, changing routes and stops in many places. This week, it's a big test. Thousands of students return, including students at the university level, at the University of Manitoba. That's where CBC's Jim Agapito went out to yesterday. He talked to some students and asked them about their commute via the new transit system.
My name is Daniel Magtibay.
This is your first year at university?
Yeah.
So you took the Winnipeg Transit to the university today?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what that experience was like.
A lot of transfers. I took 2 transfers on the way here. Actually, when I used to go to U of M when I wasn't a student yet, I only needed to take 1 bus there. So it's a much more work and less relaxing, because sometimes I do other stuff while riding the bus, like maybe study or something like that. But now I have to watch out for when my stop is and what if the transfer bus is late.
How do you feel about all these changes?
I think it makes sense to me why the routes are this way, but it's just really hard to adapt because I live in the Maples, which is very far from U of M.
How much of it has it added for your commute?
At least 20 minutes, and it could be worse than that, especially in the wintertime. I believe that if they continue with the system, punctuality with the buses is paramount, because on top of having a transfer, I wouldn't want the transfer to be late and have to wait in the cold for longer than I thought. But more direct routes from farther sides of the city, because I know there's a lot of people in my area who go to the U of M or want to go to U of M, and I want something done about that. If getting a parking spot here would be easier, I would rather just drive.
Stephanie Russell.
Is this your first year at the university or not?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you took the bus today. What was the commute like?
It was fine. It was my first time taking the bus here, so I didn't really experience a change because this is my first time. So.
And what area are you coming from?
Newfoundland.
As a person that's coming from a different place, what do you think of the transit system so far?
Well, I'm going to be so real with you. It's a lot better than St. John's. I'll tell you that much for free. You know, I'm assuming it's still not as good as it could be. I also had someone who is a local and could help me, so I'm assuming that if I didn't have him helping me, then I would have a little bit more trouble, but that's why it was pretty easy today, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So now I'm going to ask you.
Carlton Rodriguez. It was fine today. The route I take is pretty good normally, so it works out nicely. I found that the consistency of some of the buses is a little bit less than last year as well, but for the most part, it's pretty good still.
Did it add or did it shorten your length on the bus today?
Today it added, but that's mostly just because of construction.
So have you been to the university here before, prior to this?
Yes, I have. The stops are a lot different in that I have fewer options, I find.
Did it take some time to get used to?
Not really. It's pretty self-explanatory, I find. So to get to the university is about the same, but to get to other parts of the city is much more difficult, I'm finding.
What would you like to see to improve the system, if at any?
Just better routes, more frequent buses that are larger, especially for like the main arteries of the city.
Shira Lantican. It was a lot more crowded than I expected. I also used to go to the University of Manitoba before I became a student here. I didn't have to take as many buses, maybe even 1 or 2. But now I have to take like 3 or maybe even 4.
And how does that make you feel?
It's a lot more work because back then I would be able to do like some other form of work on the bus. The rides were a lot longer, so if I didn't get enough sleep, I could like rest. But now I'm always alert, and now I'm always like I have to just be up on the bus just in case I miss my stop. I'm trying to get used to it really because I've been transiting for a long time now. So I knew all of the bus routes before, and now I have to relearn all of that again. But I always like to give new things a try.
What would you like to see to improve it?
These buses have gotten a little bit more inconsistent and they take a lot longer. Sometimes it takes around like 40 minutes for the next bus to come. So obviously I'm going to be late for like a lecture if I do miss it.
How much would you say it added?
About 20 minutes more.
Would this make you more likely to want to drive here instead of taking transit?
Yes. I also think about like gas, and I kind of don't want to pay for that. So that's the reason why I would just decide to bus more here instead.
CBC's Jim Agapito, that's him yesterday out speaking to students who commute to the University of Manitoba via city transit and that big overhaul in the system, trying to see how it affects them. There's a city councillor calling for longer length of, transfers and such. And so people are having some things that they're doing. And the feedback, rather, is offering some councillors a look at the system and suggesting some changes already. What do you think? We've now had it sort of settled in for a while. Going to be a big test with the kids back to school this week, or students, I should say. Call us if you've had some experience with the transit system and you have suggestions about improvements. 788-3205 is where you can weigh in. Right now, it's 10 to 8 on this first day of school. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Well, one of the things you might be juggling today is where the kids are going to be. So let's talk about childcare. While the cost of childcare has improved, access has not. That's according to a new survey by the Manitoba Childcare Association and Probe Research. The Childcare in Manitoba survey found wait times on average were 17 months across the province, among other findings. So the survey was more than 1,800 Manitobans. It came out yesterday. It also looked at quality of care and universal childcare. Kathy Gardner is here live via Zoom, president of the Manitoba Childcare Association and executive director of the Learning and Growing Daycare here in Winnipeg. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So 17 months on average is the wait to secure a childcare space. What do you think when you hear that? And I should say continue to hear that because it's been a problem for a while.
Yeah, it's been a problem for a while. I'm also the executive director of a childcare center here in Winnipeg. So, I know I have firsthand experience. I receive calls on a daily basis, emails, people find the most creative ways to contact. And it's sad. It's really sad. People, the survey is correct. People are spending an exorbitant amount of time on wait lists.
And how are parents, when you talk to people, like how are they managing that with work and other things they have to do in their lives?
Well, they're not. They manage it obviously the best way they can, but I think a lot of people are depending on family and friends, and I actually have a family here where the mom just took a leave of absence from work because she can't secure childcare for her child starting school. So, it's a sad situation.
What did you learn from this new survey? Because you last did a survey in 2016. What was in this survey that you want to highlight this morning?
Well, I think, there's good things in the surveys. There's, things that, aren't too surprising. The biggest thing I think right now is that accessibility piece and getting families the care that they need. There's a lot of, there's a lot of things that came out of this survey, but, one of the things for families is, securing childcare when they need it. And 17 months on a wait list that's crazy. No one is waiting 17 months to get into a school or start school. Children should have access to, high quality childcare when they need it. The 17 months is that's not okay. And we need to do better.
What does doing better look like? Is it just there's not enough providers, or there's not enough spaces where, child populations are maybe booming? Or what do you think is part of the key to success? Or not enough maybe, workers? I know we saw an increase to wages to try to get more people in the profession, but I'm wondering what has to catch up to help us here.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that have to catch up, and there's not one thing in particular that solves this problem. You're right, the workforce is one of those things. And yes, we've just recently seen a boost to wages, and we hope to see, that attract more people into the industry, because you can't open up spaces without people to work in them. But if you have no spaces to open up, then that's a big part of the problem as well. So it's a multifaceted problem that requires solutions and action on all parts of those problems. We need more spaces. We need more ECEs. So it's not just one thing. It's many things.
Do you have advice for parents struggling to find a daycare space?
I really wish that I did. What I tell people here is just, put your name on as many lists as you possibly can. Open yourself up to, perhaps maybe things that you didn't think of before. I don't have the answer, and it's very difficult talking to families each day when I don't have spaces to offer them and I don't have answers for them. It's very difficult.
Now, the survey also found the perceived quality of care is not getting better. So 92% of respondents were satisfied with childcare in 2016. Today, that number went down to 85%. So still a strong score, but lower. What changes do you think that childcare providers themselves might need to make to increase the quality of care or the perceived quality of care?
I think that we need more trained early childhood educators. A lot of seats are opening up. There's a lot of institutions that are offering the childcare training, the 2-year childcare training. And I'm hearing that seats are filling up and that there are people coming into this field. But I think ultimately that boils down to training, education, experience. Those kinds of things will improve quality. So we need more trained people.
In the meantime, when people are trying to navigate the systems, new parents out there might, it's all brand new, right? When you have a child and you're trying to think about this, some people start thinking about it when they're pregnant because they hear about these lists, it's all kind of mind-boggling. But at the end of the day, where do people access and understand, what is a licensed daycare facility? What is a private daycare facility? And how can they distinguish, what is in the system that might even be available to them to understand it?
Yeah, I believe the Manitoba government has on their website, they go into some detail about what a quality childcare center looks like, how to find those, how to access wait lists within your community or your surrounding areas. There's actually quite a bit of information, really good information online where families can go to, to look up that sort of thing. Also, people in the community, word of mouth, talking to, friends, neighbors, that sort of thing. You're probably going to get some hands-on or first-hand experience that way. But I think that a good starting point is online with the ELCC website.
Anything I haven't asked you about, Kathy, that you feel is important that you want to highlight today?
You know what? I think there's some good information that's come out of this survey. It certainly, shows us where we have work to do. The accessibility for families, accessing quality childcare is a very big problem. We need the government's support in building centers, opening centers. Currently the government will supply 60% of the cost of opening centers, and unfortunately the other 40% is up to the provider to come up with. That's a huge roadblock in opening up new centers. So there's lots of work to be done. The Canada-wide agreement has supported funding, for us to do some wonderful things up to this point. But clearly, we've got much more work to do.
And maybe a funding model that needs to be looked at in Manitoba. Appreciate your time, Kathy Gardner. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, Marcy.
Let's go to news headlines with Heather Wells.
Manitoba schools are ready to dish up breakfast, lunches, and snacks. It is the second year of the province's Universal Nutrition Program. And Winnipeg is poised to name a basketball court after hometown hero Chad Posthumus. The City Council's East Kildonan and Transcona Community Committee voting to name a new basketball court at Gateway Rec Centre, the Chad Posthumus Memorial Court. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Kathy Gardner, president, by the way, who I was speaking with there, of the Manitoba Childcare Association and executive director at the Learning and Growing Daycare. Well, it is back to school. After 8, we're going to go back to Gordon Bell. We're going to hear from some high school students there about day one. It's 7 degrees in Winnipeg. Watch for the students this morning on your commute, 788-3093. And World Report is up next. Stay with us on CBC's Information Radio.
On cue. Remembering Graham Greene. You'll hear my conversation with the late Canadian acting legend. You'll hear Graham tell stories from his incredible career, including his work on Dances with Wolves, and how he learned that you have to do the work because talent can only take you so far.
If you're going to be an actor, spend at least 1 year in theater.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
The Canadian author Miriam Toews has long borrowed from her own life for her award-winning novels. Now she tells her story head-on in a highly anticipated new memoir, Miriam Toews, on family, why she writes, and whether she'll continue, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. This week is back to school for Canadian students and back to work for Canadian politicians. Parliament doesn't resume until September 15th, but there is a lot the government needs to do to prepare. So today, Prime Minister Mark Carney is holding a cabinet retreat in Toronto. Janice McGregor is back in CBC's Parliamentary Bureau for us. And Janice, the Carney government keeps saying it is moving at speed, but summer is over now and there's so much that still needs to be done. Walk us through.
Absolutely. Mark Carney punted major budget decisions to this fall, ostensibly wanting to see where the economy was headed. But now it's September. We're a few weeks out from a new fiscal framework coming due, and these decisions can't be put off any longer, amid word last week that the Canadian economy contracted last spring, and amid warnings from civil service unions that the government will not be able to scale back government the way it's promised through attrition alone. Consultations were supposed to have wrapped up last week on the government's new Build Canada Homes strategy. We will see if that agency actually manages to launch before Parliament returns in just under 2 weeks. And after months of discussion and debate, the Prime Minister has suggested the first few national infrastructure priorities are going to be announced this month. But First Nations chiefs have something to say about that. Pressure is also mounting on the government to rework C2, the Strong Borders Act, amid fears that not enough's being done to protect Canada's digital sovereignty from U.S. tech dominance. The Liberals' industrial policy generally has had a rough summer, especially in manufacturing. Yesterday, for example, came word that the Quebec government is pulling the plug on its partnership in Northvolt's much-touted but troubled electric battery plant. That's 3,000 jobs that won't materialize and several $100 million of taxpayer money lost.
And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will be back in the House now that he's been reelected. What's on his to-do list?
It's been interesting to see the Conservative leader out talking about issues that are different than what the Liberals are focused on. Today, immigration. On the heels of last week, his focus on crime issues, he appears to be pursuing a strategy of wanting to be speaking about things that the Liberals aren't in an effort to connect with different concerns. But as he does so, he continues to face criticism that he also might be overreaching at times with numbers that might be exaggerating Canadians' fears.
Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor reporting from Ottawa. The Assembly of First Nations is also meeting this week in Winnipeg. And as Janice mentioned, one subject is expected to dominate discussions at its annual General Assembly: resource development and how it will be affected by Carney's major projects legislation known as Bill C-5. Here is National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak.
First Nations support economic growth and prosperity for all, but not at the expense of our rights.
She says leaders have differing opinions about what types of projects and partnerships should go ahead, but they all agree those projects should not be built without free, informed, and prior consent from First Nations. A federal appeals court says U.S. President Donald Trump unlawfully invoked the Alien Enemies Act. Trump used the 1798 Act to quickly deport people he accused of being members of a Venezuelan gang. The court also barred Trump from using the law in a number of southern states. The CBC's Aaron Collins joins me now from Washington. And Aaron, what can you tell us?
Well, Marcia, this ruling is another setback for Trump's crackdown on undocumented migrants here in the U.S. So this federal appeals court ruled that this really obscure law can't be used for deporting alleged gang members. The Trump administration had argued that this Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, was essentially an invading force. So officials could target them for deportation using the Aliens Enemies Act. But this court said, nope, this wasn't an invasion, and using the act in this way, it's illegal. And it wasn't the only legal setback for Trump yesterday. A California court also ruled that it was illegal for the administration to deploy the National Guard to Los Angeles. Remember, that happened in June. That, of course, a response to protests against another action aimed at deporting undocumented migrants.
There was a U.S. military strike on a vessel in the Caribbean. What are we hearing from the White House?
Yeah, this came out pretty late last night. The White House is saying the U.S. military had attacked a speedboat in the Caribbean, killing 11 people, alleged to have been part of the same Venezuelan gang connected to that court case that we just spoke about. So the president released a video on social media allegedly showing drone footage of the attack, saying that the people killed on board were smuggling drugs. The administration calling the group terrorists, saying the gang is controlled by the Venezuelan government, an accusation that country has denied.
Thank you, Aaron.
You bet.
The CBC's Aaron Collins in Washington. In Beijing's Tiananmen Square, China's military might is on display. Thousands of people clap and stand in formation as the leaders of China, Russia, and North Korea emerge together. China is marking 80 years since Japan's surrender during the Second World War. Flanking Chinese President Xi Jinping are two of his closest allies, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. China is calling today's military parade a sign of unity. And the display caught the attention of Donald Trump, the U.S. president taking to social media to wish President Xi and the people of China a great day of celebration. Trump followed up by giving regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, as he says they, quote, conspire against the United States of America. Canada may have lifted its retaliatory tariffs on the United States, but Ontario's premier says he will make sure companies that abandon his province still feel economic pain. Doug Ford has been voicing his frustration about Diageo, the company that makes Crown Royal. Last week, it announced it was shutting down a bottling plant near Windsor, Ontario, and moving the operation stateside. Kathleen Saylors has more on Ford's reaction.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal.
And with that, Ontario Premier Doug Ford dumped a bottle of the Canadian whiskey, amber liquid chugging out and onto the ground at his feet. Diageo, the spirits giant that produces the brand, announced just days ago it's closing its southwestern Ontario bottling facility. Ford lambasting the leadership, calling the company, quote, dumb as a bag of hammers. Diageo said in a statement to CBC that Crown Royal will continue to be made in Quebec and Manitoba, and the whiskey sold in Canada will be bottled here. But Ford had a warning for the company.
So you know something, a message to the CEO in France, you hurt my people, I'm going to hurt you. You're going to feel the pain in February when these people don't have a paycheck. And I'm going to stand up for the people of Ontario, and I encourage all of Canadians, all of Ontarians, stand up for the people, because you don't know if you're next.
The Premier's office did not clarify if he would pull Crown Royal from store shelves, as he has with American liquor in the trade war with the United States. Unifor's John Dagnolo represents the 200 Amherstburg workers who could lose their jobs in the closure. He supports a potential boycott of the liquor.
And I've told them, you need to take the alcohol off the shelves, because this can happen to anybody. Enough's enough.
Dagnolo says he's not talking about severance. His first priority is keeping that plant open. Kathleen Sailors, CBC News, Windsor.
Beloved Yukon musician Hank Carr has died. Hank Carr was born in Saskatchewan but became an ambassador of Yukon's culture and music. His fans say he could sing any song, but through decades of performing, he stayed true to his country music sound. Hank Carr was 86 years old. The CBC's Tori Fitzpatrick has his story.
Where do you go after Yukon?
That's Carr's song, After Yukon, an ode to the place he called home for nearly 60 years. After moving to the territory in 1965, Carr spent much of his life singing in Yukon bars. His son, Hank Carr Jr., says the territory meant a lot to him.
I just honestly believe that he felt in his heart he always owed the Yukon for what it did for him.
Carr had many accomplishments throughout his career, including playing at Expo 67 in Montreal and winning a Heritage Award at the Western Canadian Music Awards in 2019.
When I was first told, I keep wondering why I'm receiving these awards.
Carr was humble and not one to laud his own achievements.
I will remember him as a man that does not put his trophies on the shelf. Be humble.
Carr Jr. hopes people will remember his father, not just for his music, but for how he treated others.
Love thy wife, love thy neighbor, and take care of one another. And that's how we remember the Yukon, 30, 50 years ago.
Heaven's where I'll go after Yukon.
Tori Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Happy first day back to so many students who are returning this morning in 22 school division out of our 38. It's going to be busy out there, and it's a cool one. I'm Marcy Marcuso. You're with CBC's Information Radio, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. Well, did you make or are you planning to take lunch today? Did you pull out a plastic container out of the dishwasher? Maybe later you're going to microwave it. You might change some of those habits after you hear our medical column this half hour about microplastics and some new understandings about how they affect our health. So stay tuned for that. Plus, I mentioned back to school. Here's some quotes from some students going back to Gordon Bell. Looking forward to it, super excited and nervous. Corey's going to talk to some of the students over at Gordon Bell, that school, of course, in downtown Winnipeg. He's live there this half hour. You're with CBC's Information Radio on 89.3 FM. Stay with us. All the feels today, right? Okay, let's get into news headlines. Heather Wells is here with updates and other stories.
Good morning. Well, we are learning new details about the good, the bad, and the ugly at Winnipeg's healthcare facilities. The findings of a survey done in 2024, a survey of more than 9,000 people, are being made public for the first time. So we'll give you those results coming up. And more frequent larviciding could do away with the need to fog for mosquitoes in Winnipeg. It is one of the conclusions of a new report by the city's insect control branch. We'll hear more about that as well in our next local news at 8:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Well, if you're back in Winnipeg, the high today 13. It's going to be cooler than our normal start, which is seasonally normally around 21 degrees, but our high just 13 in Winnipeg. We're going to have a 30% chance of showers today. Really windy this afternoon. Right now it's 7 degrees. If you're back back in Brandon, very similar. Chance of showers, little less windy, high of 13 right now in Brandon. Winnipeg's now at 6. We dropped a degree, and Brandon is now at 5 degrees. And finally, up in Thompson, we've got clearing day, a high of 13 degrees. 11 degrees for you. I'm mixing up all my numbers. 11 degrees for you up in Thompson today. But today you're mainly sunny right now, but you're below zero in Thompson. It's -1 is your current temperature. Abby Adeyemi has the morning commute news for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy. Typical volumes, no major accidents to report. However, there are delays in key areas. Sean called earlier reporting about that long delays from Logan and Disraeli down to Princess, so you need to exercise some caution along that axis. Also, Chris called, they said northbound traffic on Large is really backed up all the way down to Dougal at Cottonwood, and he has no idea what is going on. He tried to go around, he's heading towards the south perimeter. It's still backed up along that axis to access Route 59, so you need to take it easy there. Remember, just saying it one more time, with the school year on the way, drivers, cyclists and e-bike riders, you need to be reminded to watch your speed, obey the signs on the bus and stop signs, crosswalk as well. Let the students cross school zone limits down to 30 from 7 a.m. to 5:30. That's from Monday to Friday. I need to advise you the police are going to be around, so you don't want to get caught with that heavy ticket coming your way. They're going to be monitoring this axis, especially today where we have this heavy flow of traffic. Elsewhere, we have major construction still continuing on the Pembina axis. Eastbound Abanuji Mikina Pembina Vice Chancellor Drive closed until tomorrow. So follow the detail posted along that axis. And then the southbound ramp from Pembina still remains open. So does the existing ramp to the Chancellor Drive in that axis. But you see anything in traffic, just remember, keep an eye out for the students. 788-3093.
It is 8:14 now, and I mentioned some of the quotes from the students looking forward to school, being super excited and being a little nervous. Those students are with Corey Funk. He's live at Gordon Bell High School, been there all morning, talked to some teachers, also talked to the new principal over there. Gordon Bell is just off Portage, just west of us at CBC here in the West Broadway neighborhood. Corey, you're in a classroom that looks to be decorated.
We're just in the main entrance here. We're in front of the trophy case. There are balloons here welcoming students. I'm actually watching students just over here pour in. There's a few dozen here starting to make their way into Gordon Bell this morning, all looking a little excited, maybe a little bit nervous, a little bit like, wait, where's my class? A bit of that combo as well. And I'm actually here with 3 of those students right now. So I've got Neher Gazai, who's in grade 12, as well as Divine Favor Ogunrewo, who's in grade 12, and Adetunni Adegoke, who's in grade 8 as well. And they're actually all on the Gordon Bell Student Council here. Good morning to all of you.
Morning.
So I just want to start with you, Neher. I know one of the biggest things is the construction that's been happening here. How does it feel? There's still some construction happening, but how does it feel to know we're kind of at the tail end of it here?
I'm excited for it to be over because it did kind of take over a lot of our classes, and it was kind of a distraction for a while, but for it to be over is good, and I feel like we've been handling it really well, and yeah, I'm just excited for it to be over.
What about you, Divine? What's it like for you?
Well, I'm very happy because I had asthma and all the dust was just a little too much for me, so I'm excited. And it looks so good in here. I love it.
And there's lots of new big fancy windows coming in. It's going to be really nice. And Adetunni, what about you? What's it like? I know you're in grade 8, so I guess your second year here. So all you've known is the construction.
It feels good to see the school finish up and take form instead of all the construction workers and everything. So it feels nice.
So, Adetunni, I was talking with the principal earlier. Actually, sorry, Divine, I was chatting with you earlier, and how there's a lot more people are, this is their school of choice. They're coming from far away. You actually come all the way from South Pembina to come to Gordon Bell. Why make that big commute to come here?
I feel like these are my people. It feels like home, and I'm not gonna leave home and just move to a different school. I love these people. I love my community. They show up for me regardless, no matter what. And I love my teachers too. So
yeah, what do you love about Gordon Bell itself as a school? What do you think makes it unique? You know what? When you go out and people, you say I go to Gordon Bell. How do you rep Gordon Bell out in the world?
One thing we're proud of is diversity. We are very diverse in the school. You will fit in anywhere. Trust me. As you should come here, you will fit in anywhere. And no matter what, even if you feel like you haven't found your people, it might take a while, but you're still going to end up being okay. People are so nice here and so thoughtful and considerate about everyone around them. So I feel like it's a very beautiful community to be around.
What about you, Nahir? How do you feel about Gordon Bell? And yeah, what do you tell people when you're talking about I go to Gordon Bell?
Same thing. It's like the tight knit community. And like we have a lot of new students too from like other countries who come here who don't know how to speak English, whatever. And like there's a lot of support. There's like mental support, physical support, even like support for like people like teenagers who have like, I don't know, teen pregnancies, anything like that. There's like support here and like they'll always be ready to help them. And I think that's like really good and like I don't know, like it feels secure.
And for you, Anthony, what do you love about Gordon Bell?
The diversity. I came from another country and they were very nice here. They were considerate and they helped me out a lot. Even though I knew English, it was like still kind of a struggle to fit in. So this Gordon Bell really helped me like blending.
So I want to move to some more current affairs-y kind of stuff here. So I know one of the big issues everybody's talking about in schools this year is AI. And I know all you, I saw you complain that you only got 98 on a test or something before we went on air here. So I know you guys are all above board kind of students, but AI is still a big part of your lives. So you can just tell me like how you use AI with school to help you learn?
Yeah, I personally use it to like study. So how I do that is like to summarize my notes or to make flashcards for me or anything like that. Like mostly for science or math type classes where it's like to study for a test, because you really can't use AI for like English stuff because you need to state like where you got your resources from, and you just can't do that with ChatGPT unless you put ChatGPT. And sometimes actually in our classes we get ChatGPT as our lesson, so like we have to use it and then like I don't know, but yeah, I feel like it's fine to use it as long as you're not completely cheating. And I feel like a lot of us don't do that because we're gonna get caught anyways. So yeah.
Yeah, and what about for you, Divine? How do you use AI?
I use it to like mostly proofread my essays, but do not use it to write your essays. We are kind of strict about that here. So you will get talked to if you use AI to write your essay. That's not very, I guess, professional of you, because in university you will get kicked out. And I use it for like maybe a quick chemistry question that I can't easily find online. Like some questions you have to go deep into the internet, and I'm like, I kind of need this a little quicker, so I will use AI for that. And what else? Just basic stuff. Some recipes that like maybe I don't have a lot of ingredients at the house. I just type in the recipes I have and what I can make with it. So
it helps at home too. That's great. And Adetunde, what about you? You're in grade 8, so I know it's probably a little bit different, but even in the junior high level, are you using AI?
So I use AI to study, like make notes for like other classes, like grade 9 classes, because I want to be prepared for grade 9 and like not be behind. So I use it for like different advanced classes.
That's great. And another thing, we're to keep it on the cell phone ban, I know was a big thing for particularly last year, but actually we were talking before, actually for you two in grade 12, you said it's not really even something you really think about. Is it, Nahir?
No, it's not, because it's kind of not a big deal, because even in class, you have to focus, and the teachers aren't like if you have nothing to do, they're not going to force you, because in grade 12 or senior high, you're a bit more flexible with your work, so you have a lot of time on your hands sometimes, especially if you get your work done quickly. So it's fine to use your phone sometimes and like to research stuff and stuff like that. Like it's not that bad. And like I personally don't even pick up my phone because I'm so busy with like clubs and like everything else around me. So yeah, for me, it doesn't really.
And for you, Divine?
It doesn't affect me either, because I feel like there's so many other things I can be in. I have pre-cal, like you look down the board from pre-cal for 1 second and there's a full board reading down in front of you. I'm not using my phone during classes. So like, I feel like it takes a little bit of restraint though, but you will learn. And I feel like you could use that time for other things. You're going to go home and use your phone at the end of the day. So I feel like it doesn't affect me. I'm chill with the phone ban.
And you added to, I know there's like a blanket ban for students in your age. Like, what do you think about it?
It doesn't really affect me because I don't have a phone, but it does affect other people because they sometimes use it, but it's not really a big deal because I feel there are other things like clubs and activities, and besides you have friends to hang out with, so it's not really that huge of a deal for the phone ban.
And I'll stick with you. What are you the most excited for this year? I know you're playing volleyball. To me, what else are you looking forward to this school year?
I'm looking forward to the activities planned, like the spirit weeks and other fun activities that the school has prepared for junior high.
I know you're both in really crunch time here, grade 12 here. And I won't be I'll probably be the first person this school year to ask you, but I definitely won't be the last. Tell me a little bit what your plans are going ahead. You got a year now to kind of figure out what you might want to do after. What do you think? I'll start with you, Nair.
Okay, well, I'm not sure. I do have like two main ones, either like business or architecture, which are so different, and that's why I take so many classes to prepare. But like I'm not sure yet, and I feel like this year I'm gonna like get to see the schools and like the campus, and like I hope that like helps me to pick one, because I need to like really quickly.
Do you feel a lot of pressure like going into this year?
Yeah, I've actually felt pressure since grade 9, which is crazy. But like in grade 9, they told us, they were like, you have to prepare what you need to know, and like it was really not that big of a deal. They just were like, you just need to know and be prepared. But I was like, that was crunch time. I was like, yes, I need to pick right now, which I do not, and I can take my time. I can even change it when I go. So like right now, it's okay. It's chill.
I know, Divine, you got your eyes on the prize. What do you want to do?
I'm going to study neuroscience. I'm trying to get into either the U of W or U of T, and I'm going to end up being a neurosurgeon. And I've known for like 5 years now. And it's completely okay not to know. You could go to university, study a course, and still change your mind. It's completely fine. I just feel like I've had my eyes on it for a long time, and I'm not switching now. So, and I feel like it's pretty cool to go into someone's brain. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, and you're not going to have much room for looking at your cell phone then in the next year at all. Then,
am I gonna have? Huh? I'm so sorry. I feel like the pressure is on this year, but it's not that much. Grade 11, there was a lot of pressure because I feel like I was trying to fit all my things into grade 11, so I would have like a smooth grade 12, because there are a lot of senior events to plan. So like, I feel like I'm chill this year. This year is gonna be good. I can feel it deep in my bones. Straight from like, today feels good, so the rest of the year is gonna be good.
Good. Well, all the best to you guys with the school year. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. So that is Nahir Gazai in grade 12, Divine Favor Ogun Rewo in grade 12, and Adatuni Adegoke in grade 8, Marcy. And as you can see, the kids are all right here at Gordon Bell.
No kidding. Look at those strong women. Woohoo! Wish them luck. I loved hearing all their plans and all their thoughts on everything. Really great to hear from the students at Gordon Bell, and you as well, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Corey Funky is at the entrance to Gordon Bell. You might see him if you're there dropping your child off, or if you're a student and you're going in this morning. Gordon Bell, of course, just west of the CBC here off of Portage Avenue in the West Broadway neighborhood. By the way, we're going to ask the Minister of Education all kinds of questions. We have a taped interview with her. We took questions from you. We're going to have that later today. We'll get it on the air for you tomorrow. On the phone ban, phones are banned K-8 in Manitoba. At the high school level, no phones in class, but you can bring the phone. So it's always interesting to see what students think of that, leading to Corey asking some questions there. We'll ask the minister whether there's plans to expand that. We'll also ask about all kinds of other issues in class, including AI, and whether or not there's plans to have a province-wide policy to try to help educators and schools navigate all of the learning challenges around AI, and also where it can be used successfully. I'm Marcy Marcusa. 8:25 a.m. is the time right now, and I believe that Abby has a traffic update for us. Abby's been covering traffic. Corey's been, of course, out and about covering the first day of school. So, Abby, you were just off the phone with someone?
Yeah, I was just off the phone with Heather, and she says Osborne between Brandon and the underpass, it's down to one lane on both sides. And in Heather's words, she says it's slower than molasses.
Crawling.
Okay. So you need to take it easy. If you can find an alternate route along that axis, please do. Also remember the situation we have along Logan, which is closed to southbound lanes. You need to take it easy along that axis as well.
All right. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
788-3093 if you want to update the commute on this Wednesday, September 3rd morning. It is cloudy and 6 degrees in Winnipeg. We're going to reach 13. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and you are with CBC 89.3 FM. Well, I have a bit of a cheeky pick this morning for music. We have already played some sentimental music for back to school, but this one's for everyone that's not back today. There's 38 divisions in Manitoba. There's already 23 of them that are back. One yesterday, 22 go this morning. There's 15 left. So we're talking about that first day coming up tomorrow. If you are in Hanover, Interlake, Lord Selkirk, Mountain View, for example, a lot of the rural divisions head back tomorrow. So here are the truths and not ready to go. Well, whether you're ready or not to go, you're going. Today's the first day back across most of Manitoba, and 15 divisions left. Will go tomorrow and the next day. And then the latest, in case you're wondering, start to school back for students comes in the Swan Valley School Division. They will start on Monday. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for being with us on our show this morning. Also, thanks to those who contributed to the show. Associate producers Chidi Ikuma as well as Jenna Badosso with items today. Also reporter Jim Agapito on the program today. And big thanks to our senior producers Leif Larson and yesterday acting for Nellie Gonzalez, Robin Summerfield. So thank you everyone for your work this morning. In addition to our live crew, Corey Funk, who's been out and about. Thank you, Corey. Also Abby Adeyemi, who's been tech directing, doing all kinds of things this morning. Thank you, Abby. And thanks to Brad Lillies, who's been behind our YouTube controls. We're not done yet. Here's your last CBC Winnipeg news of the show.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg at 8:30. It's still cloudy, 6 degrees right now. It is chilly. You feel that when you step outside. A north wind 30 gusting to 50 this afternoon as we clear out, but staying cold, a high of just 13 this afternoon. We are learning the details of a survey about the healthcare system in Winnipeg. CBC News obtained results through a Freedom of Information request. 9,000 people were surveyed in the first half of 2024. In worst cases, a patient suffering from a heart attack says they were forced to find their health card. Another patient sat for hours in a waiting room with their head bleeding. And one person who wasn't given any food all day. Noah Schultz at the Manitoba Health Coalition says the negative experiences are difficult to hear.
I always want to sympathize with those frustrations and with patients who are not receiving the care that they deserve, that maybe the workers also really want to be giving and aren't able to, and that takes a lot out of everybody. Healthcare, the stakes are high. These are life and death decisions.
Schultz is encouraged, though. Most survey respondents felt positively about their healthcare experience. Well, students are arriving at schools across several divisions in Winnipeg this morning. At Gordon Bell High School, it is a new year, a new principal, and a new look as renovations are in their final stages. Construction work on the West Broadway School started in 2023. It includes a full energy retrofit to cut their energy use by 50%. Principal Tanis Westall says they still have flooring left to put down, but the classrooms are open for students.
It's going to have a huge impact. Like, this reno has been 3 years in the making. It's the result of an energy audit. And it is going to be a beautiful beacon, actually, in the heart of Winnipeg. So you're going to have that natural light flowing in. That's going to impact student learning.
Westall says once complete, Gordon Bell will become a real hub for the community. And once students get to school, they'll be fed. Back to school in this province marks back to Manitoba's Universal School Nutrition Program. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, schools are adapting to the needs of students.
As you can see, we're bringing in a lot of food because we have a lot of students.
Boxes of fresh food arrive at Elmwood High School. Food coordinator Robert Zana uses it to prepare hundreds of meals each day.
This year we're focusing on fresh meals
twice a day, breakfast and lunch.
Manitoba's NDP government earmarked $30 million annually to expand meal and snack programs. The federal government chipped in more than $17 million over 3 years. Progressive Conservative education critic Wayne Owasco questions if all students are getting the same access to food and is concerned the money is stretched too thin.
School divisions have to then hire staff, have to have prep for the food.
Education Minister Tracy Schmidt says funding is given to school divisions based on size and socioeconomic need.
We designed it so that the program would address the need where the need is the greatest.
The minister says the province worked over the summer to adjust funding where needed. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Assembly of First Nations is meeting this week in Winnipeg. One subject is expected to dominate discussions at the annual General Assembly: resource development and how it will be affected by Ottawa's major projects legislation known as Bill C-5. Alex McDougall is Grand Chief of Manitoba's 4 Island Lake First Nations.
The way I see it is C5 is a perfect example of colonialism, capitalism, imperialism, all wrapped up into one.
AFN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak says leaders have differing opinions about what types of projects and partnerships should go ahead, but they all agree the project should not be built without free, informed, and prior consent from First Nations. The more frequent larviciding could do away with the need to fog for mosquitoes in Winnipeg. It's one of the conclusions of a new report by the city's insect control branch. In 2 or 3 years, the city expects to run out of the last pesticide approved for use as a fogging agent. Insect control says it could control mosquitoes without fogging by larviciding once a week instead of once every 10 days. The change would cost the city less than $1 million a year. It would also, though, require a new helicopter base for the insect control branch. Winnipeg is poised to name a basketball court after hometown hero Chad Posthumus. City Council's East Kildonan Transcona Community Committee voted yesterday to name a new basketball court at Gateway Rec Centre, the Chad Posthumus Memorial Court. Throughout a 10-year professional career, Posthumus played for the Winnipeg Sea Bears, as well as other teams in Canada, Japan, and Argentina. He also played for the Canadian men's national basketball team. Posthumus died in November at the age of 33. City Council as a whole must vote to approve the name of the basketball court. You can find more on these stories as well as other news as it develops throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, and Joni Nicolo in our news department. Thank you all for the morning. Well, in the weather, as I've been mentioning, cooler than usual. Should be around 21. We're nowhere near that. Our 6 degrees right now. I mean, our daytime high is 13. We should get back up to those seasonal norms by early next week. So Winnipeg today, 30% chance of showers, high 13. Winds gusting north from 30 to 50, and very similar in Brandon, just less windy, still a high of 13. It's 5 there right now. And we do leave you with Thompson still sitting at -1, and you'll be right around 11 degrees today, and your skies should clear early this morning, or I guess I should say now a little later this morning. With a last look at what's happening on the roadway, here is Abby.
Yeah, with the school year on the way, you just need to remember to exercise caution and keep the children really, really safe, and also be considerate to other road users. Don't forget the construction along the major axes and where we have bridge reconstruction and rehabilitation going on. Just take it easy along those axes.
All right, thank you very much, Abby. School day number 2. Have at her, everybody. And we'll be back again tomorrow on another first day of school for the remaining 15 divisions. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM and on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Be well.